for something?
We're gonna have a hot story for you right off the press.
What time do you? What time is it? Do you have the correct time? 7:01. You have 7:01. I grew up at a Vince Lombardi time. My parents always had me 15 minutes early.
Oh, my dad was the same way.
That's late.
No one ever late. Oh.
Never want to be late.
Late was my parents thought I was late when I was there on time.
For birth?
For anything. 15 minutes early.
To get shopping done?
What time does this start at? Who's not here?
Too. Take care. Here's one of my homeowners. So what's the school? How much you want to go on your tax?
I didn't have fun here, my friend.
All right, that's what I figured.
How much? Not your fault. No. Hey, I like the tree in your back room up there.
Huh?
Your house, I like your tree in your back room.
Isn't that
I lay there night first. That's the last thing I see before I go to bed. You're perfect for it.
My wife, because she works at Macy's, and she gets like when they either get rid of them or they go out on these closeouts, these beautiful crystal ornaments and stuff on there.
Oh, that's cool.
And so she has this tree up.
It's right in the middle. They get it.
It's beautiful. Yeah,
It's the last thing I see before I close my eyes from my window.
Oh,
it's like,
good.
It's peaceful.
It is peaceful. Oh,
Thanks
good.
for
I'm glad you
standing up.
enjoy it.
Thanks for that.
My pleasure. What'd I do?
She doesn't know if it got submitted, so it'll be up at the next one.
Okay, where's
What time are we starting at?
As soon as I have one legal question here.
I'm gonna have some elbow room here tonight. Both's gone. He might be. Oh yeah, he might be here about 9 o'clock, but.
Make a motion to call this meeting to order. All in favor?
Ready.
Beautiful. All right. Love that enthusiasm. All right. Without further ado, I'd like to call this December 15th session of the Holyoke City Council to order. The clerk will call the roll and record those members present.
Alexander.
Here.
Bartley.
Here.
Bresnahan. Shatnoff. Graney.
Here.
Jordan.
Here.
Leahy.
Present.
LeBron Martinez.
Here.
Lisi. McGee. McGivern.
Here.
Soto. Tolman.
Here.
Bacon. Here. Valentine.
All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God bless America.
And the City of Holyoke.
And the City Council.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to have the city councilors-elect join us on this side of the rail.
Motion's been made and seconded to suspend the rules to allow any councilors-elect that happen to be in the room. I see Councilor-elect Roman is with us to join us. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Councilor-elect Roman, please join us. Thank you,
Mr.
sir.
President,
Councilor Leahy.
we could maybe give a moment of silence. We had a death this past week with Judge Gibbons, who was a friend to the city of Holyoke and just a wonderful judge and a great person.
Happy to do that. Moment of silence, please, for Judge Ian Gibbons. Thank you. I have it right right here. There's 2 people signed up. We happen to have 2 items laid on the table. Is there any motions relative to either one of these?
Motion to take up item number 1.
Okay. This is relative to the Wisteria-Hurst? Okay. Motion is to remove item number 1 from the table. Is there a second? Okay. Motion's been made and seconded to remove item number 1 from the table. This is, again, relative to resident parking only at Wisteria-Hurst Museum. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. I will read you the item. This is a committee report from the Committee on Ordinance, to whom was referred an order that the possibility of establishing several residence parking only spaces be explored for the residential area on Beach Street located directly across from the Wisteria-Hurst Museum. Residents are having parking difficulties on evenings when the museum has events. Have considered the same, recommend that the order be adopted. Councilors Lisi, Vacan, and Shatnoff.
Motion to pass the first reading.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to pass the first reading. Under discussion, Councilor Lisi.
Thank you. This was laid on the table because the measurements that came to us from engineering were slightly off. They had given us 6 spaces, and we really only needed 5 spaces. So Kara submitted the revised legal language. And the order is pretty self-explanatory. There are a number of 2-family homes across the street from the Wisteria-Hurst. On weekends, we're really glad to see that Wisteria-Hurst is having a lot of activity, successful events. But the parking, overflow parking for those events are blocking neighbors from getting into their homes. There are no off-street parking situations. There are no driveways for these residents. So for the 2 houses that don't have driveways, that are 2-family homes, we wanted to create 5 spaces. That's 1 space for each unit, as well as 1 additional space if there's a guest. So it's permitted parking, and it would just prevent cars going to the Wisteria-Hurst from parking in those spaces when people are trying to get home from work, bring groceries into the home, etc.
Okay. Any discussion? Councilor Tallman.
Yeah, I just want to state that I filed this order with Councilor Valentin, and we had went over to the house across from Wisteria-Hurst because a person had a difficulty with the parking, and we talked to him about it, and I'm glad this is finally getting taken care of because the people were having a difficult time, especially during weekends and evenings when they had events at the Wisteria-Hurst. So I'm very much in support of this order.
Thank you. Any other thoughts? Councilor McGivern?
Do we have the ordinance in legal form?
Let me just take a look at my packet.
Kara did submit it in legal form.
Yes, I do have legal form here signed off by our Assistant City Solicitor. In it, it's an amendment to the Section 86-321 of our ordinances. Beach Street, side westerly, a point 30 feet south of Cabot Street to a point 136 feet further south, type 5 parking resident only would be what would be you'd be voting on to establish.
Thank you. And just a question that came to my attention, but is there a daycare on site in one of these homes?
It's not, if I may, through the chair.
Sure, yeah, Councilor Lisi.
It's not in that home. It's further down the road, from what I understand.
My only concern is once we create the residential parking, no one else can use it unless they have a sticker, period. Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Alexander.
Thanks. There's actually more parking along that side of the street than the few spaces we're blocking out. So there's room for, if somebody didn't need to park there for some other reason, there are other spaces available.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of passing the first reading?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Motion
So
to pass the second reading?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to pass the second reading. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Motion that the passage be ordained?
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded that the passage be ordained. There is no further discussion. The clerk will call the roll. A yes vote is in favor of the ordinance change. A no vote is to deny it.
McGivern,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Alexander,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Graney,
Yes.
Jordan,
Yes.
Leahy,
No.
LeBron Martinez,
Yes.
Lisi,
Yes.
McGee, 11 yeas and 1 nay.
By your vote, you have approved the ordinance change.
I think,
I'm sorry, 10 yeas.
yes.
10 to 1.
10 to 1, yep.
Ordinance is adopted. Brenda, who's voting first tonight? Joe. Okay, just wanted to confirm that on my sheet.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Yes, sir. Okay, very good. So that dispenses with item number 1. Item 2 sits on the table unless there's a motion.
Mr. President, it's really unclear to me. I was having problems with my email this week, but I'm getting different reports as to whether the actual resolution language went out in the packs.
I myself did not see it.
Okay.
So I don't know if anybody else saw the resolution. I have not.
So if it has not circulated, I'd like to leave it on the table again.
Next meeting.
But we do have folks from the Central Labor Council here to speak, but they're registered under public comment. So I think that'll speak to that item number 2.
Okay, yeah, we'd always welcome them, as always, which is very timely because now we're at the public comment section of the meeting. We have one alluded to from the AFL-CIO, but we also had one person sign up first, and that was Helene Florio, who signed up first, and Helene hails from 31 Wellesley Road, Holyoke. Helene.
Working tonight?
Working tonight. Welcome.
Thank you and good evening. My name is Helene Florio and I live at 31 Wellesley Road here in Holyoke, and I'm speaking to you not only as a homeowner and a taxpayer, but also as president and executive director of the Holyoke Taxpayers Association. Tonight, you have to set the tax rate, or I hope you'll set the tax rate. Mm-hmm. Last evening's testimony at the assessor's hearing really said it all. There was a great representation of businesses here from Holyoke in the room, and all had the same message. Please do something with the business or the commercial tax rate. Many of you were not able to be here last night to hear all of the presentations, and most unfortunately, the hearing was not televised, so our homeowners in Holyoke did not have an opportunity to hear the effects of the tax rates on the local businesses and or the ability of the city to attract new businesses. I'm not here to reiterate all of last night's conversation. I wouldn't do that to you. But I do want to emphasize just one point. Tonight you have the opportunity to show that Holyoke really does want to be what it says, business friendly. You have the opportunity to follow last night's suggestion that was given to you by Bob Gilbert, who's here tonight, chairman of the board from the Chamber of Commerce, of voting on a 1.59 shift. The psychological symbol being shown, the business community, would mean you really are ready to work together for growth, that you care about the businesses you have, and that you want to not only keep what is here, but welcome new businesses to Holyoke. The choice of the 1.59 shift will ultimately be a benefit to all. Thank you for the opportunity to help you make that decision, and good luck. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your thoughts. Our next speaker is Fiore Grassetti, and he hails from Springfield, so I'm just going to ask for a quick rules suspension.
Motion to suspend the necessary rules.
Motion to suspend the rules to allow, because under the rules it's for Holyoke folks.
I know.
To allow a non-Holyoker to address the city council during public comment. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Thank you. So my name is Fiore Grassetti. I'm actually with the Ironworkers Union. I'm also president of the Pioneer Valley Central Labor Council. We represent about 70 unions and 23,000 members in the Pioneer Valley. Probably about 500 of those members reside in the city of Holyoke. With that said, what is or will be presented to you is a resolution opposing trade agreements, in specific the Trans-Pacific Partnership, otherwise known as the TPP. For those who may not know or are not up on it, it is basically NAFTA on steroids. If you've done any research on NAFTA, you will find that it was pretty much devastating to a lot of industries out there. Jobs lost, stuff shipped overseas. basically this thing is going to be on NAFTA on steroids. But what I would like to say is that the city of Springfield was the first to pass this resolution. Our goal is to pass it in a bunch of cities and towns in Western Mass. I can state one example. If this was in place, what would not be happening for Western Massachusetts and the city of Springfield, for instance, is the railroad car manufacturing facility. Part of the clause in there, if there's anything that prohibits another country to sell items, or specifically the Buy American clause that was in there, and the fact that they wanted these cars built in Massachusetts, if this TPP was in place, that would not, you would not be building those cars here and not bringing manufacturing jobs, good paying manufacturing jobs to the city of Springfield if this TPP was in place. Because again, there's slews of things that prohibit someone's right to manufacture and sell things in the States. But more so, what people don't realize, this is going to affect pharmaceuticals. What does that have to do with fair trade? There's so many industries and so many things that this is going to touch. Patent rights, the list just goes on. And the big deal was it was all secret, and stuff is slowly getting leaked out. And that's the problem, is they want literally people to vote on it without even knowing what's in there, our senators and congressmen. So again, I appreciate your time on this and look forward to seeing you at the next meeting. Thank you.
Quick question, is this something pending in front of Congress now? Is that what's going on?
So what was presented to Congress was fast tracking of it, meaning that, you know, you either vote for it or against it. And the problem is, if it got fast tracked, then there really wasn't many options to change the language. You either voted it up or down. So what we're asking people to do is just basically oppose this. So when this comes to our congressmen, we get to say, look, these cities and towns are against it. The public is against these things. We want to make sure that they realize
So the proposal is a resolution by us to send to our senators and congressmen.
Well, just to have on file that these, you know, the cities and towns are opposing bad, let me rephrase, we're okay with good trade agreements, don't get me wrong, but what we're opposing is bad trade agreements. Okay. So it will spell out why this is a bad trade agreement in the resolution itself. Okay. Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you very much. Councilor Lisi.
And just a point of information, our next meeting would be January 5th, where this would come up from the table again.
Yep.
Thank you.
That is our next meeting. Okay, very good. So, unless we want to suspend the rules to take up the tax issue now.
Motion to suspend the necessary rules.
Take up
the tax.
And let me see, just pull that up. That would be item number 28 on this agenda.
Filed by Councilor Jordan.
Yeah.
Yep.
About the MRF. Yep. Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, motion on the floor is to suspend the rules to go now to item number 28. Item number 28, all in favor of that?
Aye.
So moved. Item number 28, introduced by Councilor Jordan, that the City Council set the minimum residential factor for fiscal year 2016 for the purpose of determining tax classification. And at this point, I'm just going to once again go through a quick little primer on our rules on how we handle this. And as you know, the City Council is asked, and you will be, if you vote in the majority, you will have to sign off on the approved minimum residential factor. It does require a majority vote of the body. We will entertain 3 motions, okay, and we will vote on them in reverse order. So, for example, we will have someone make a proposal for X minimum residential factor. This would have to require a second. Then if somebody else proposed something other than that one, then we would then have that on the floor. And if someone then makes an amendment to that, there would have to also be a second, and we would consider that minimum residential factor. I would draw your attention to your books that you were provided by the assessors. I would draw your attention in particular to the rate charts where the residential factors are listed on them. I would also draw your attention to the page marked "What If" scenario worksheet supplement. Also has a number of the minimum residential factor scenarios for you to consider for a vote. The last proposed amendment will be voted on first, and then we will go to the next one and to the next one if the first 2 lack a majority vote. Okay. The other thing I would point out to you is the current tax rates are residential $19.04 and $39.93 commercial industrial. So that is the current rates as they sit for fiscal year 15. So whenever you're making a proposal, just be mindful of what the current ones are, and you can shift them up or down as you desire. So, any other questions on that as we begin? Okay, great. All right, so I'll recognize someone if they have their hand up for a motion. Recognizing Councilor Lisi.
Motion to set the shift at 1.59, bringing the residential tax rate to 1917 and the commercial tax rate to 39.75.
Okay, yep, take care, guys. All right, so.
Second.
Okay, 1.59. Let me get my chart here. All right, so introduced by Councilor Lisi, seconded by Councilor McGivern. She proposes a minimum residential factor of 0.766768, which is also a CIP shift of 1.59. This would set the residential tax rate at $19.17 and the commercial tax rate at $39.75. So let me just write that down. That will be proposal number 1. Okay? Is there an amendment to that? Councilor Vacant.
I would propose an MRF of 0.76400, which would bring the residential rate from 1904 to 1910 and the business rate to 39.93.
Second.
Okay, there is a motion on the floor.
Excuse me, 39.96.
No, I believe that one, 0.7640 would be 1910 residential, 39.93.
Right,
commercial.
but I said 763,500.
Oh, okay. So, all right, so Councilor Vacant proposes an MRF of 0.7635, which would be a residential rate of $19.09 and a CIP of $39.96. And did I hear a second to that?
Second.
Second. Okay, so introduced by Councilor Vacant, seconded by Councilor Bartley. Is there any other motions? Councilor Tallman.
Yes, I'd like to have the MRF at 0.765000.
Okay. Councilor Tallman proposes an MRF of 0.7645, which would be...
No, 765.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's 0.7650, which would be a rate on residential of $19.12 and a commercial rate of $39.86. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Second. Okay, so introduced by Councilor Tallman, seconded by Councilor Alexander. And let me just make sure I get these all in here. Okay, very good. So, without further ado, we have our 3 motions, and is there any discussion? Councilor Vacant.
Speaking on my motion for the 0.7635, I ran the numbers because we have a situation where the home values went up on the average and the average business values decreased. And my issue has been for the last, as long as I've been on the city council, my issue has been the growth of the city budget. And I'm looking forward to the day when the folks in our entire community, business and residential, come down to the gallery when we're debating the cuts so that we learn to live below the tax ceiling in managing our city. And so until we do that, the position I take on setting tax rates is that to the extent that the taxes go up, we all have to share in the rates. However, I would note that it will still result in a decreased tax bill for many businesses in the city. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? Councilor McGivern.
The problem with using averages is they don't always tell the full story. One of the reasons the average commercial rates have gone down is the Mountown coal plant itself and the loss of the taxable revenue value on that property, personal equipment value that we were so generously using for revenue throughout the years. We know it's one of the chief and main reasons why we have a ceiling limit, and we know it's one of the chief and main reasons why we're having a struggle the past couple of years with raising enough revenue to pay for those services, which no one has proposed to cut over the last 10 years. We can talk about affordability, we can talk about a balanced budget, but this is talking about fairness the best we can make it. The tax rate is $25 per thousand. That's the budget that we passed with the mayor through a long process that began last May. We need to shift this in fairness to both the residential community and to the commercial business community itself. The perception of raising the commercial tax rate for business would be harmful. Even if you try to say some of their tax bills will go down, the majority of their properties have remained the same. Their values are the same. New construction is the one thing we never seem to talk about in this argument. New construction is new construction wherever you are in the Pioneer Valley. And once you pay for new construction, the assessors look at that property and that becomes the value. So it doesn't matter where you build, Holyoke, Longmeadow, Chicopee, Westfield, the new construction class is going to equal the value of that property in the beginning years of that property until there is some regression as the property and the building itself gets older. We want new construction. The message we want to send is something that's a little bit more favorable to the business community, and we have to, I hope, try to come up with some compromise here that shows a reduction in the tax rate for the business community without harming the residential community itself. I think most homeowners recognize we are an industrial city, that we are a city that needs a vibrant, healthy business community, and we are a city in desperate need of new business. Raising the tax rate on the businesses is not going to do that. The perception alone is harmful. We've heard many people who are building now what it costs to build. It's astronomical. We hear many people who are looking at Holyoke or in these national magazines that will tell people that are looking to build somewhere what the cost of taxes are within a given city. Granted, there's other factors when someone looks at a community, but I think property taxes become one of the major ones, and I just hope when we vote this evening, we vote for something in fairness, but that we lower, even if it's only a little, the business rate itself.
Councilor Graney?
My question has been answered.
Okay. Anybody else under discussion section? Councilor Bartley?
Just a quick comment. Yeah, I appreciate all the prior comments, and to the Taxpayer Association and the Chamber of Commerce. They always do a great job. I want to compliment Assessor Delude because he prepared for us a couple pages of meeting minutes from last night, so which I had the opportunity to read before I came here tonight. In my conversations, which I did a whole lot of campaigning this year, the residential homeowners, in fact, have had enough. I'll also add that commercial owners who are my friends and with whom I've done a lot of business here in Holyoke, they say to me one of the things that they least care about is the commercial property tax that they are paid because they feel it is peanuts relative to other communities. Therefore, they are happy to be in Holyoke. So that's whom I speak to. And as far as business friendly goes, we had Conservation Commission before the Development Governmental Relations Committee, probably in the early spring. And out of all the orders that came before them, all the solicitations for special permits, everything for site plan review, how many failed to get through planning or conservation? 0. None. All passed. Every one. When we've had things in the Development Government Relations Committee, we've virtually the same thing. I mean, a couple are on the table, but none were denied special permits. In ordinance, with Gary Rome and other things, all passed. It took a while. I admit it. It took a while. Could have been done faster, but they all passed. So the business-friendly stuff. I mean, I know we joke about it, but it is a true thing. I mean, I think this council in particular, more so than any other branch of government, really goes out of its way to help the commercial persons. So with that, I support either Pete's motion or Linda's motion. I'm going to vote for both of them, just depending how they roll. I do not support the third one. I will vote no on that. I think it's too much of a hit to the residential homeowner. Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Lisi.
And just in terms of procedure, can you just make it clear if we're looking for 10 or 8 votes for the tax shift?
8.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, any other thoughts? Councilor Leahy.
Yeah, thank you. Last night, I do commend Debbie Brunel and Mr. Delude as well. I was one of the 5 or 6 people that came down here. It's a very important meeting. It's good to see the businesses coming down here and also residents coming down here. There's some residents in the audience that didn't speak up, but I spoke to them afterwards and spoke to them today as well. My role as a city councilor has and always will be to fight for the fairness of the residents of the city. Now, residents make up twofold. One, they make up your neighbors, your parents, your brothers and sisters, but they also make up the businesses as well. And that's what I've always thought my role as a city council was to look at things with an open eye, do the numbers, do the homework, talk to constituents, which are both homeowners and business owners. And that's what I've done. So once again, I'm going to fight for the fairness of all the homeowners and all the businesses of this city. Now, one of the things, somebody just approached me the other day and asked how could they help keep the taxes down. Well, unfortunately, as has been said many times, our taxes make up a lot of different things. But 2 of our biggest costs in the city in doing business is personnel cost and insurance cost. We have a good group of people that are working with this committee to keep insurance cost as low as they can. Personnel cost, that's cost of doing business. We as city councilors, we don't hire the people. That's an avenue you have to look at, the mayor and his department, that sort of thing. We appoint certain people, but we don't hire the people. So that's what you can do on your side. I know my daughter, Caroline, who's sitting at home now, and she's very interested in this because she's learning about it in school. She's watching us, and she asked, and she said she's learning all about the taxes and that sort of thing. And she said, how come we just don't have a Celebrate Holyoke every weekend and put all that money towards lowering taxes? And I just looked at her and her fresh eyes, and I thought, how beautiful it is. She just wants to keep having fundraisers, call her cousin Dee Dee Riley to sing for free and this sort of thing and try to get some money. And I thought that was so super nice of her. And maybe that's one avenue we should try. One of the questions I asked last night was, how many apartment buildings does the city have? And the answer was 309 apartment buildings. Now, for all of you guys that weren't here last night and all the people at home, we have 309 apartment buildings that are getting charged a residential rate, not a commercial rate. And so if things were different, and things could be different, but we would need our state rep and our state senator to make those things different, we could make more money off those apartment buildings so they could pay their fair share, because the landlords are making the money. In a lot of cases, these people who are the landlords are renting to nonprofits, or differently, not-for-profit, which is completely different than nonprofit. We have to make business friendly. Now, I disagree with my counselor to my left. I've heard from many people in the commercial industry and the business industry that things do take forever and for long periods of time. In fact, I was just down at a water department meeting where a person was getting charged $25,000 for a fee called a frontage fee. Now, I said, what is that fee all about? Well, they said they take the linear square foot, it's not square foot, it's linear foot, and they multiply that by a multiple, and they get $25,000. And so I said, and what's that for? They said, well, that's for originally laying down the pipe. I said, okay. I go, and why do we charge that when other communities don't charge that, or they charge a much smaller fee? He says, well, to keep the water rates down. I said, when was the last time you guys changed the water rates? And so it's just kind of like, robbing from Peter to, to give to Paul type of thing, where they haven't raised the rates and they're taking this money so other people might not want to develop there. And it's just, it's very time consuming and very long. And I applaud people like Gary Rome and the Marcotte family for putting a lot of money, putting a lot of their own money and time and effort into increasing the size of their businesses, which is a good thing for all of us. As I said before, we need to be business friendly, but we also need to make sure our homeowners and our elderly and the people who have come before us are financially secure. How do we do that? Well, good conversation happened last night. We need strategic planning. Over the course of the next year, I look forward to working with our president and maybe making a subcommittee or that type of thing, an ad hoc committee. We should look at the 5, 10, and 20 years and see exactly what we're going to be doing. Because a couple of things are going to be happening. One is we're going to be paying $500,000 to $600,000 for the retirement account that we're not paying into. We haven't paid into. We're going to have to start doing that. That's going to be a huge hit. And also, this Friday, we watching the the news or the Wall Street Journal, interest rates are going to go up. How's that going to affect us as well? There's a lot of different changes coming around, and I'm here to stay, and I want to be a part of these changes, but I want to make sure that we're keeping the homeowners and the businesses in mind. Thank you.
Any other thoughts? Councilor Tallman?
I'll be brief. Just the number I brought up today was mainly because we got to take care of both homeowners and businesses. I mean, we have to look at, we need businesses coming into the city, and with my rate, it lowers the business rate by 7 cents and increases the homeowners by 8 cents, which I feel is like in the middle of the road. We had a good meeting last night, and I've heard a lot of good things from a lot of the business people, business owners, the chamber, and Taxpayers Association. But I didn't hear from too many residents. There was a couple residents here, but they're hurting too. And it's a balance. It's a balancing act. It's not easy to do this. A couple of my colleagues last night talked about the budget and how we got to stay in line with things. Stay right size. I mean, things are getting out of control in the city, and if we don't take a handle on things soon, as far as personnel costs and other expenses that just keep on going up, we're not going to be able to cut it. It's something that, as our council president stated, that the costs are just keep on going up. Retirement costs, healthcare costs, the sewer rate, things just keep on increasing. So my number here is a compromise number, something in the middle in case anything doesn't go. It's important that we bring in business and expand business. And it's also important to try to keep a number in where the residents are comfortable with, which I think is a lot better than the 1917. 1912 is a little bit more palatable, I believe, for the citizens of Holyoke. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Graney?
Yeah, I just want to express my support for Councilor Tallman's proposal. I think that it's the most equitable that we have in front of us, and I'm going to vote for that.
Okay. Any other thoughts? Okay, very good. All right, Joe, just so we're all crystal clear, Councilor Tallman's proposal, seconded by Councilor Alexander's proposal for $19.12 residential. It also would be a $39.86 commercial rate. That's the one we're going to vote on first. After that, if that were to fail, we would go on to the Councilor Vacan and Bartley motion, which is a $19.09 residential and a $39.96 commercial. And if that were to fail, then we will vote on the Councilor Lisi, Councilor McGivern proposal, which is a residential rate of $19.17 and a $39.75 commercial rate. Okay, so without further ado, the clerk will call the roll. The first vote is going to be on the residential rate of $19.12 and a commercial rate of $39.86.
8 or 10?
I'm sorry?
How many votes?
8.
Okay.
McGivern?
Yes.
Tallman?
Yes.
Bacon?
No.
Alexander?
Yes.
Bartley?
Yes.
Bresnahan? Shatnoff? Graney?
Yes.
Jordan?
No.
Leahy?
Yes.
LeBron Martinez?
Yes.
Lisi?
No.
McGee?
Yes.
8 yeas and 5 nays.
By your vote, you've approved the tax rate at $19.12 for residential, $39.86 for commercial, and that's that. Okay? Very good.
Tallman tax increase. The Tallman tax increase. TTI.
Who was the fairest? They all signed.
Oh, yes. If you voted as one of the eight, the clerk is now going to give you a piece of paper to sign.
I agree with Linda's points.
Item number 3. Item number 3 is a communication from the city clerk, Brenna Murphy McGee, and the administrative assistant, Ryan Allen. It's the minutes from December 1st, 2015. City council meeting. Is there a motion to receive and approve?
So moved.
Motion's been made and seconded to receive and approve. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Motion to suspend to take, oh boy, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, okay, forget it. Strike that. Motion to take up 4, please.
Okay. Item number 4.
Yeah, the TTI.
Item number 4. Item number 4 is a communication from the city auditor. It's a letter regarding free cash. I'm going to paraphrase. As you'll recall, we had an original statement as to what the free cash was, and at one point they seemed to have found an additional $296,050.
The auditors, the outside auditors found the
Yes.
additional.
Yes. They are saying that it was related to the state misconstruing some data that they had been provided. And as a result, they certified those new numbers, and of course we had those. That was the subject of our meeting last week. So probably just a motion to receive would be in order.
Motion received.
To receive.
Motion's been made and seconded to receive. Any discussion? Councilor Bacon?
I just want to go on record as objecting to the fact that we received that communication on the day of our deliberations when it was information known in the administration's office on the Friday preceding. Thank you.
Any other thoughts? Councilor Bartley?
I just want to echo that too. I appreciate Linda bringing that up, Councilor Bacon bringing that up, actually, because yeah, I don't know why I missed it, but that was received in the mayor's office at 8:30 in the morning, or thereabouts on Friday. And I know I could speak to the clerk if we had. I mean, that would be ample time to get that on our agenda. Because the clerk doesn't print out our agenda till noon, so I don't know why that. I don't know why that didn't go onto an agenda for us to consider. Why that had to be late filed, Mr. President, is I don't know the answer to that. So I wish there was an answer, and I wish I wasn't, Johnny, late here in the ball game, but Johnny come lately. But I'm glad Councilor Bacon brought that up, and I appreciate her doing so. Thank you.
Yes, historical fact. This memo is dated December 4th, 2015. If you will check that on the calendar, it is a Friday.
And what time, Kevin? Mr. President?
Is not time-stamped. It came to the clerk's office the following Monday at 8:49 in the morning.
But the email was received.
Oh, it was given to the
before 9 o'clock.
It says given to mayor and city council on December the 4th. It was not given to the mayor and city council on December 4th. It was
not
given to us on the 7th. But there you have it. So I think you guys made your point. Councilor McGivern.
Hey, just a reminder, we actually had the other figure at the special meeting, and when we looked at it, the auditor was saying one number, and we were reading a different number. So it was never given to us until recently.
Well, he made the revision at the new meeting saying it's 300,000 extra.
And just to remind the rules, Mr. President, as you noted, because it's a special meeting, we could not accept that as a late file.
That's correct.
And so
You can't add items to the agenda with the 48-hour notice.
Which tonight, my good friend, we'll add a whole bunch of late filers. We do it all the time.
Yeah.
But to a special meeting.
A special meeting, you just can't because of the fact that we have specific rules saying that we may only discuss those items articulated on the agenda.
I'll be voting against late filed. I only need 4 more people to follow me. Second. Third. Fourth.
Hey, right now though, as you know, under the rule, we automatically accept them. So you'd have to suspend the rules. You have to send them to a committee. We just can't debate them. If you recall, we changed that rule. So we don't actually take a suspension of the rules to consider them. Just that we have to suspend the rules to there. You could do that.
Now we need 7 more people to follow me.
All right. So all in favor of receiving item 4?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Items 5 through 10.
Okay.
As a package, please.
Okay.
Second.
And receive?
Receive.
Receive.
Okay, motion has been made, seconded to suspend the rules to take up items 5 through 10 as a package and to receive all of them. And I will just read these briefly to you. This is the Board of Fire Commission minutes of November 16th, the Holyoke Redevelopment Authority minutes of August 19th, Holyoke Retirement Board minutes of June 24th, August 26th, and September 23rd, Board of Public Works minutes of October 19th, Sewer Commission minutes of October 19th, Stormwater Authority minutes of October 19th. Motion on the floor again, suspend the rules, take all these up as a package and to receive them. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item 11. Thank you. Item 11 is a communication from an attorney, Twidarski. That's my best pronunciation of that. It is a letter regarding the proposed replacement of a wireless telecommunication tower at Scotts Tower Road. This is for a Crown Castle, and which is effectively the new name of Singular Wire PCS and AT&T Wireless. They've sort of changed their names around, and they lease, as you may recall, they lease space from the city up at Scotts Tower for the purposes of having a cellular tower there. And they're looking to take this down and relocate it about 30 feet away and put it up, and they do need a change of conditions from us, and I believe they also need approval of the landlord. I believe they have, because I've spoken to Attorney Twidarski. Him and I just said Tim and Kevin over the phone. And he also has an item pending in front of the Park and Rec Commission regarding permission to take it down, put up the new one, and move it over. But he did say he definitely needed a vote of the City Council on a change of some of the plotting of it and some of the conditions. So we're going to be getting into that. He assumed this was going to committee.
Your motion to receive and send it to DGNR?
DGNR on this?
No?
Yeah. All special permits.
It's ordinance?
All special permits are DGNR.
That's right.
All right. Okay, so motion on the floor is to receive and refer to the very powerful DGNR committee led by
on that,
Joe Moakley of the
Kevin?
City Council.
Yeah, not yet.
Not yet.
Kevin?
Hold on, I want to recognize Councilor Lisa. She had her hand up first.
I just wanted to note that I believe they need to apply for a new permit altogether because it's a new location. Yeah. Okay. So I think we should.
That is correct under the ordinance.
Yeah. Because they're saying it's on the original. They're moving the pole, no doubt, 30 feet. They're saying it's in the original plot.
I think even if they were removing and replacing the pole altogether, they would need a new application as opposed to modifying the existing pole.
Okay. Councilor Leahy.
Yeah, thank you. And I was going to say the same thing, that new application, which also would lead me to believe that we could have new negotiations. Absolutely. How much are they paying us now?
I've asked those questions, haven't gotten answers yet, but I do want an accounting of the monthly amount that we're getting and making sure all of that is completely advantageous. And there's going to have to be notification of neighbors.
Well, we could discuss this in committee, but I'll get this information.
But all of those details will be certainly discussed, I'm sure. And I believe why they need the landlord or the property owner's permission. And I thought it was interesting that they're getting the Park and Rec they're calling it as the Park and Rec is signing off as the city's permission authority. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Local approval.
Yeah, I thought it would be the mayor and us, but apparently they're saying it's Park and Rec. But any other hands up to discuss? Councilor McGivern.
I know we kid around about this a little bit, and I think the separation and the division of the items is important to keep a flow and all of our committees working as best as possible. I mean, that ordinance committee did get a little tired at the end of the year. But the one thing about this type of special permit, and it held true at our last meeting, is we need technical staff there. There are questions that we cannot answer from the law department. There are questions that we can't answer from the planning board. There are questions that we need to be able to answer to the public in a timely fashion, to answer to ourselves, that we don't know. And I think this one it won't be as bad because it's an existing moving over 30 feet, but certainly I think we should note that if we're going to separate these items, we're going to be asking technical staff to come in.
Yeah, that's a great point, and absolutely, DGNR should be given all the resources and technical assistance that the ordinance committee has been given over the years, and there should be. And I'm assuming that the chairman's no shrinking violet. He will insist that those individuals attend, and the administrative assistant will certainly make sure to invite all of these individuals in, and
on the motion,
and you get the resources that you need. But it's a great point. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of receiving and referring over to DGNR?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So moved. Okay, I'll take care of that. Petitions is item 12.
I make a motion to pass it, or renew it rather.
To suspend the rules and to grant the renewal with all the current existing conditions.
Second.
That's been seconded. Petition of Kenrick Williams of 97 Locust Street for a renewal of a special permit for home occupation for property preservation. The business name is called KW Property Management. States in the business of property preservation. All municipal fees and taxes are current. And I see no page listing any other conditions.
Motion to approve the renewal contingent on any special conditions that might be there that happen to not be in front of you right now.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, motion is made and seconded to adopt with any pre-existing conditions that may exist. Any other discussion? Hearing none, the clerk will call the roll. A yes vote is in favor of granting the renewal of Mr. Williams's special permit for home occupation, and no vote is to deny it.
McGivern.
Yes.
Tallman.
Yes.
Bacon.
Yes.
Alexander.
Yes.
Bartley.
Yes.
Graney.
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Leahy.
Yes.
LeBron Martinez.
Yes.
Lisi.
Yes.
McGee. Unanimous vote.
By your vote, you have granted the renewal for Mr. Williams' special permit. Item number 13 is a petition of Sprint and T-Mobile. It's for a new wireless telecommunications facility or material modification, as well as for a floodplain overlay district to be located at 200 Northampton Road. I'm not familiar with Northampton Road, but I am familiar with Northampton Street, unless there is such a thing as a Northampton Road.
Street.
I think they meant Northampton Street. It's a firm from
Yeah, Mr. President.
Providence, Rhode Island, that's filed this the firm of Brown Rudnick. It looks like something to do with a wireless service facility. Councilor Bartley has a motion for us.
DGR, please.
Motion is to receive item number 13, refer it to DGNR. Under discussion, Councilor Bartley.
Yes, we already approved this. There was a technical glitch, though, not with. It's just a technical glitch that so we have to bring it before us for further discussion. So I think this is, but this is a good time to point out that we'll have to have another DGR committee meeting pretty soon after the year turns. So just for the committee, I just want to alert them to that. So hopefully we can bring up both of these issues at that time. Thank you.
Not another structure or use question. Councilor Graney?
No, we got one of those tonight.
Okay.
Just a quick question. Could you pinpoint that location, Councilor Bartley?
Yeah, Smith's Ferry, Howie, and it'll be just slightly north of where the coal power plant is located.
Thank you.
Councilor Lisi.
I just wanted to note that the technical glitch, I think, was an error in the notification that went out.
Okay.
So I think they had to renotice and start the process again.
Ooh, that is a large glitch. Councilor McGivern.
When we held this public hearing, AT&T came in with a company spokesperson, 3 engineers, and an attorney. And we were dealing with floodplain issues. We were dealing with a site that needs cleanup, an idea of what the economic development plan was, or reuse of this site was going to be, what it meant to the smokestack and the smokestack being torn down, what it meant to the height. The public safety department, especially the fire department, wanted us to add something to the tower. And these are the items that I talk about when I say we need technical advice as we're doing the public hearing. One of the catches here, we want to do this as quickly as possible, and for the abutter who may or may not have concerns, I hope that we can answer all the questions to that abutter who was not at the first public hearing. But we're going to need a new committee assigned quickly before we set up a public hearing.
Sure.
That abutter better show up. I hope they do.
After all of that.
Oh, I hope they do, or I'll say a name.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Motion on the floor is to receive and refer item 13 over to DGNR. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item 14. Item 14 is a petition of CCATT Site Manager for a special permit for modification of an existing wireless telecommunication facility on Scott Tower Road. And this is the compendium that got with that communication earlier. So this is the actual application for a special permit modification.
Receive and refer to DGNR.
Okay, motion on the floor is to receive, refer to DGNR. Councilor Lisi.
I'm just going to, I'd like to suspend the rules and ask Kara to speak on this item really quickly.
Okay. Motion's been made and seconded to suspend the rules to allow the law department to address us on this petition. All in favor of that?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Kara, we have a question from Councilor Lisi on this.
Thanks, Kara. Just because I see before us this petition of a modification of an existing wireless telecommunications facility, and I'm under the impression that it's really not a modification of an existing tower because we're taking it down and moving it. So I would say that this is a new tower that would be going up, a new telecommunications facility, as opposed to a modification to the existing one. And would that be your read? Would they need to reapply or refile this petition?
Well, so just to be clear, they're filing for an amendment to the special permit, and as such, it goes through all the same requirements as any other special permit as far as a public hearing and notice. And one issue is that the ordinance actually is not clear. The ordinance does, I don't have it right in front of me, but I can certainly get the section, defines a material modification as a replacement of a tower.
As a what?
A replacement. It includes replacement. And
well, that's what they're replacing the tower.
Right. So there's
no question. It's going to be an entirely different tower.
In a different place.
I mean,
they're not even moving it to another location. It's going to be a whole new structure.
No, I'm aware of that. There's,
okay. I'm sorry.
There's some conflict in the ordinance of whether what they're proposing is, in fact, a material modification or a new permit. But in the end, they're going to go through the same process. The amendment, if it's approved, needs to be recorded. So it's kind of
two different avenues to get to the same outcome.
It's kind of 6 of one, half dozen of the other of what you're calling it, because the whole procedure is going to be the same.
Councilor Alexander.
Thanks. Kara, if it's a modification of an existing permit, are we able to consider anything other than the proposed modification? As opposed to if it's a new permit, then the entire design, I think Councilor Lisi mentioned the revenue structure of the arrangement, everything is open for discussion. If it's a modification, are we restricted to just the position and materials that they're proposing for the quote-unquote modification of building a completely different tower in a completely different location?
Well, and the tower, so it's now Crown Castle leases an area of land from the city. I'm happy to provide a copy of the lease. The new tower is also within the leased area, so they're still falling under the
So the lease would obtain any which way
of the lease. You know, again, where this is essentially a new tower, obviously you will have to consider that it meets all the criteria of the ordinance. I'm not sure if that's answering
But the lease, basically, I think you're answering the question. The lease is not open to renegotiation because we're within the original lease footprint.
I would say not. I mean, it's still under the terms of the original lease. It's going to be within. They're not changing the leased area. They're just changing the location of the tower within that. And they do have, I know they've submitted to Park and Rec, you know, photographs of what it's going to look like and all that. Park and Rec, just to address the points Councilor Jourdain brought up, Attorney Twardowski had contacted me. Park and Rec seem like the best ones to look at this because they are, well, I should back up. Under the lease, the landlord, which is the city, has to give approval of any plans, and there's like 45 days. And because it is located within a park, I felt that Park and Rec was the best one to look at it. The mayor will be signing the special permit application that comes to the council, as the city is the actual owner of the land.
Okay, thanks, Kara. Then just an observation then, which is that if they're moving the tower, presumably it's because there's some issue with the existing location. The new location is either inherently a better location, which I would imagine they would have figured out in the first place, or something has changed, trees have grown, I don't know what. But in any case, the new location presumably has more value to the applicant than the old location. And that should be considered as part of the discussion over whether to grant this permit.
Yeah, I think what you're going to find out is, there's line of sight issues. I think there's, they want a better angles from the 30-foot away. The tower, they did tell me, is going to be the exact same height, but it may be, it could look different, And I also said, since we've got full carte blanche on a lot of to do with what the tower looks like, because they were game to, different colors, different, what it looks like, maybe things that could be used to make it more aesthetic to a middle of a tree forest area, which is what this is. This is a forested area. So they did say, with a new tower, it's, within reason, they're willing to accommodate those type of things as well. But when you start changing line of sight angles and you move things, then what neighbors might have saw before they didn't or did or not. So these are things that have to be considered, obviously when we get to committee.
I reiterate my point. They're not spending $100,000 or $200,000 to build a new tower because they like the new location aesthetically a little bit better. Yeah, they're doing it because it's worth more to them.
Oh, I'm sure. Oh, yeah. I'm sure they're smart people. I'm sure they had engineers and whatnot. Councilor McGivern.
There's also the possibility that they need a new tower and they can't take the existing one down without loss of service. So you move the site over 30 feet, you put up the new tower, then you move over all the antenna.
That is part of it.
I'm sure that's a factor too, right? That's a good point. Councilor Bartlett.
Kara, you'll be getting us a copy, the committee copy of the lease?
Sure, I can provide that. Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, great. So motion on the floor is to receive this and refer it to DGNR. Any other discussion?
Copy to Parks and Rec.
With a copy to the Park and Rec Department, or do they already have a copy or no? Oh, okay. Well, with a copy to Park and Rec, just to be safe. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Okay, President's report. I have a few meaningful items for you. I'm going to go through some of the quicker items. First is that I wanted to let you know that we were extended an invitation for a St. Patrick's Day committee event recognizing our former colleague, Patty Devine. She was, as you know, named the 2016 Grand Marshal. There's going to be an event in her honor on January 15th at 6 o'clock at the Log Cabin. Okay, I did want to let you know about that. There is an admission ticket, but they will be having a dinner in Patty's honor on the 15th of January. So I wanted to tell you about that. If you have not yet responded to the Christmas party invitation, please get that to Brenna. That is on January 9th. The RSVP was today. Obviously, as you know, if you're a Flower Fund member, that is a gratis to you. Just let you know that is a freebie for 2 tickets. If you're not, then please see me and we can discuss those other arrangements. The other thing I wanted to mention to you is if you have not submitted to me for the new term your requested committee assignment or assignments, please let me know. Shoot me an email what you're desiring to be on what committees. Please let me know, okay? Many have responded, but many have not. Want to remind everybody that this is the last meeting of our term, so we had a very productive last term. Last 2 years, this has been great. We did a lot of work over 2014, 2015. I think each of us should be very proud of our accomplishments over this last 2 years. I wanted to, first of all, extend my best regards to one of our 2 leaving members, Councilor Alexander, who did a fantastic job over the last 4 years as the Ward 7 Councilor. Just really extremely knowledgeable, a real credit to our institution here, offered a lot to our conversation, and just a great colleague, and you're going to be sorely missed.
Remember all that when you get to the 16 late files at the end of the agenda. Thank you all. It's been a pleasure. Hear, hear.
Yeah. And so we were going to give those all leave to withdraw, but that's no, I'm only kidding.
Not until next year.
Not until next year. Hailing from, I believe, currently circumventing the globe as we speak, in the Far East as we speak, Councilor Soto also will be leaving us. I believe he made a trip out to Taiwan, if I recall, but Councilor Soto gives us his greetings, and he too worked very hard as the Ward 2 councilor, and was always a bundle of energy, and offered and contributed a lot to the discussion, and we certainly wish Anthony, who ran a very vigorous campaign for mayor, and offered a lot of ideas as to where he feels the city should be and has been, and we wish Anthony the very best in his future endeavors as well. We have a couple colleagues. I mentioned one. We have one other colleague who's traveling, who unfortunately could not be with us this evening, is Councilor Valentin. We wish her safe travels. We had one councilor who was sick, and Councilor Shatnoff, she gives her regards. Unfortunately, she could not be here this evening. And Councilor Bresnahan is away with work, so he also gives his regards to everybody. We had a meeting. I won't get into too much of the details of it because we had it in executive session, but I did want to just say briefly on the whole David Guzman mayoral situation with that. There was a consensus that I would have a meeting with David and the mayor coming up. I had suggested this week. Unfortunately, David's away, and so this was not a good week for him. So we're going to shoot for next week on that, and continue to bring some resolution and a solution to how we move forward on that issue. So I did want to say that it's my expectation that we'll have a meeting with the mayor next week if the mayor is available. So that's the game plan with that, and I'll have information for you and certainly the Public Service Committee moving forward. Biggest news of the week was a great meeting that I had with the school, our new school receiver, Dr. Zreich. Had a great meeting with him. We met for the better part of 2 hours, and we went over a whole plenary of issues going on with the schools. He's extremely engaged. I'm very optimistic about his impact here for the city. He's really got a lot of great ideas, and he's fully engaged to make things better for the city of Holyoke. As many of you know, I shared the sentiments that I myself not a big fan of the receivership, but certainly if you have to have a receivership, this is the guy. I really feel after that meeting, I already was impressed previously with having met with him, but having that meeting, I felt really this guy's right on top of it and really has the best interests of the city at heart. He reached out for this as a challenge. He wanted to be part of that. Originally, he, quite frankly, was interested in the Lawrence assignment, but he was not selected for that particular assignment. Somebody else was in mind for that, but when the opportunity presented itself to have the Holyoke challenge here, He wants to be part of transformational change in education. This is what he views as his expertise and his specialty. We went over a whole range of issues from the budget to engagement with the city council, where he sees the department moving, where he feels that he can make a lot of different transformational changes. Some of the things that we talked about was, one, he absolutely would love to come and address the city council. I believe I talked at one point to Councilor Bartley about this, and we'll have an order to have him come either before the full city council or DGNR to come and to answer questions and talk, and we can have a whole colloquy about, all of these issues. So Dr. Zreich absolutely wants to, he said to me, quite frankly, how engaged should I be with the city council? And I said, absolutely, as fully engaged as much of your time as we can have to work and have this feedback and input. And so by all means, if you have suggestions, if you have concerns, feel free to share those with him, and certainly to me to share with him as well. I'm happy to do that as well. In terms of some of his ideas, he's talked about a lot of things, such as, where can we, he's very sensitive to the budget issues, which, as you know, are near and dear to my heart as to how we restructure government and think about government going forward. And, he was right on there about, can we have synergies on personnel department? Can we have synergies on school maintenance things? Why does it always have to have all these silos? He's open. He says, I want to address 57 Suffolk Street. He goes, I want an answer to that. He goes, I am not wedded to this long-term lease to this. In fact, he pointed out to me that with the receivership, he has all the legal authorities to get out of some of these bad deals or deals that are not in the financial best interest of the school department or the city. And so there's opportunities and other options. So I know, I've talked about one of the options that we talked about certainly was the acquisition of 57 Suffolk Street. Why are we renting something if that is going to be the future permanent home, and that's what they feel is in the best interest of the school department to maintain, then why don't we own it? Why are we renting? It's like renting your house for 20-something years. Who does that? That's not in the best financial interests of a family, certainly not of a city. And so these are the things that he is thinking about, and we're going to be having that type of information coming forward. We talked about a whole host of issues from Lynch School to Peck to all the things. At the time that we spoke, of course, these recent allegations of all the abuse things and things of that had not come up yet. We had met before that, so I have not had an opportunity to talk to him about that. But I know he's certainly fully engaged at this point to have a full investigation as to all of those charges and all of those claims that have been made, certainly by all the individuals involved. The other thing that we talked about, let's see, was, oh yes, the budget. With respect to the budget, he pointed out to me that he's very concerned about some of the information that had been given to the City Council with regard to the school department budget. First of all, that when the original estimates of school transportation were given to us back in June, it should have been known that there was approximately an 8% increase in the school transportation contract. That is resulting in approximately about an $800,000 to $1 million shortfall. Now, there's about $800,000 to $1 million in additional school transportation costs, and he did in fact confirm that number to me. I had asked him about that specifically. I said, this is what I'm hearing from people inside the school department. He confirmed this. He did feel, however, that he will do whatever he can to absorb as much of that, but he did not feel that they could absorb $800,000 to $1 million. Just did not feel that they could do that. When so put that on the laundry list now of new things for the remainder of fiscal year 16 that will have to be addressed, even if it's $400,000. The question becomes, where do these dollars come from? And of course, this is going forward. So he's reviewing this contract. This also might be something he may be able to, under his receiver powers, to be able to get out of. So he is considering that at this time. So maybe he can negotiate a better deal. We'll hopefully see how that goes forward. But certainly dollars are going to be a big part of the equation moving forward. So anyways, I did want you to overall assure you that, you know, I was very, very comfortable with that conversation that we had. I thought it was a great meeting. We also talked briefly about the energy audit proposal. There is and you'll be seeing this soon, is a $3.6 million potential bond request coming to you regarding energy efficiencies and building improvements for the schools. They feel that it will be revenue neutral, that the dollars from the bond payment would be savings in utility costs. There is an outside expert that has been pitching, if you will, potential proposal that they've done for these in other communities. And as a result, they feel that they can save the city of Holyoke a great deal of money, certainly sufficient to pay for these improvements. He isn't 100% sure he wants to go that direction yet, but we'll see how that all plays out. But what he did say is there is significant capital improvements that do need to be made to the schools, particularly in the areas of windows and a number of these different items. He also discussed, you know, there's a number of things like rugs and different smaller capital items that do need to be paid and improved in the schools. So I did want to point those things out to you as well. So I think we're going to be seeing some dollars that we can put in. As you know, one, and I've mentioned this at the committee level already, is I am going to be advocating a capital improvement bonding for the city of Holyoke. I've asked the treasurer to go through some of our bond indebtedness to see where we are in the schedule and the calendar on the payment of our bonds. See what's going to be dropping off, if any, what can we reasonably afford. But we do need to put together, you know, a number, you know, I'm not even going to assign a number to it, but in the single digits of millions of dollars that we need to put for capital that we really need for this community over the next 1, 2, 3 years. A lot of these items, because we were in better financial times, we were able to expense many of these items. You know, we would just pay them with either free cash or maybe small withdrawals from the stabilization funds. But, just 1 minute, Councilor Green. But what we need to be mindful of is the fact that cash flow wise, we just simply can't do that anymore. The problem that I'm fearful of is that if we don't expense these items, we're either going to not do them, and then these capital things are going to just really take the best of us, and we're going to have some real major setbacks, and we're not going to do capital improvements that we need to have done, and so we're going to have some real problems. So I think if we do this bonding proposal, as I'm going to be suggesting to the mayor, and you know, which is going to outline a number of things between some park improvements that need to be done. We have this back half of the City Hall Annex. If you've seen that, we got all kinds of deterioration going on at the annex. We've got the intersections that we've talked about that we don't have the dollars for a number of intersections that need to be repaired. You're going to be hearing a lot more about these different capital things, and I certainly encourage you, if you have councilors, different bonding or capital improvements that you think need to be made and that you have identified, certainly forward those to me, and we can have a discussion on that, because this is a conversation we need to have. Also, things like police cars and otherwise that we simply don't have the cash to expense this fiscal year and likely next fiscal year or maybe thereafter if we do not have the cash flow to do it. But these things need to be purchased. We need to develop an immediate action plan to resolve these. So going forward, I think we're going to have to really think out of the box on a number of these, and I was very impressed by Dr. Reich and his attention to detail as to what's going on in the school. So anyways, Councilor Graney.
Just a quick question, Mr. President. Did Dr. Zreig mention anything about student performance and student deportment in the schools?
Student performance, what was the other part?
Student deportment, behavior.
Behavior. We did not talk at length about student behavior issues. We did talk about the marketing of the schools. We talked about more parental buy-in, that we have lots of people that are opting out of the schools and going to other districts through school choice. And we talked also about the challenge of charter schools. We talked about the need to make the case, and of course, they need to improve.
Did you get an update on academic performance of the students?
No, we only superficially, we talked about there was an uptick in performance, but we did not go into the intimate details on performance. But yeah,
just a yes or no. Did he go into the fact that there is a lot of people taking their families, staying in Holyoke, but having their children go to other schools? Is that something he can stop? I'm sure that would save millions.
Yes, we discussed it, and yes, we discussed different strategies to prevent that.
All right, thank you.
Both voluntarily and involuntarily. Okay. All right, great. Councilor McGivern.
Is he aware of the unemployment issue when it takes place and the impact on the city side of the budget?
Yes, I discussed to him, I said, please, he didn't have an immediate answer for me other than he would look into it. I discussed the whole law around the June 15th magic date, the notice date, and we discussed all of that, and he said that he would be looking into that and is mindful, because he was here this past, well, I believe he was aware of this issue this past June. But yeah, he said he would be getting back to me on the future in terms of employment issues. But so there you have it.
Thank you.
Yep. But they definitely is going to be a change. Especially, you're going to see lots of changes, and I think you're going to see a number of changes, particularly in the home office down here, the admin building. I think he has significant plans. The other thing he did point out to me is he's been given $1.5 million in transformational dollars for the school district. But these are not for things like, paying for school busing. It's for hiring consultants to analyze different ways to improve student performance, these type of things. Maybe hire people for outreach with parents and these type of things. These type of dollars, what he's calling and describing as transformational dollars. But certainly the formula, all of these type of conversations, he's got a great ear of the commissioner. He's going to have to certainly, I think, at some point advocate for more general Chapter 70 dollars overall for the school district. Okay, great. I gave you an earful there. So thank you for your patience with me on that lengthy report. And moving on to reports of committees. Oh, I also wanted to point out, before I leave on that, I did have one other note to remind everyone that the inauguration for the next term is January the 4th. And that will be at 10 o'clock is the swearing in, and we'll certainly be gathering before that. And it is my understanding that the ceremonies are going to be here at the City Hall, so should be upstairs. That's my understanding, but I could be wrong, unless there's been a change. Councilor McGivern.
Any report on the city's inaugural ball?
The city's inaugural ball. I'm aware of the mayor's inaugural ball.
Always was the city's.
Oh, the city's inaugural ball? I don't know. I'm not aware of the city's inaugural ball. I do believe the mayor is planning on hosting an inaugural ball, and there is advertisements going around about it as we speak. January 16th, Councilor Lisi says, yes. I believe an email went out to councilors on that.
That wasn't a bit.
Yep. Okay, very good. Ordinance Committee reports, of which we have one. Committee on Ordinance, to whom was referred an order that the City Council adopt a municipal charges lien ordinance that allow the city to record a lien against a property for any outstanding charges related to violations of city ordinances, zoning ordinances, the state sanitary code, or the state building code. Have considered the same, recommend that it be adopted. Councilors Lisi, Alexander, and Vacan.
Motion to pass the first reading.
Motion's been made and seconded to pass the first reading. Under discussion, Councilor Lisi.
Thank you. So this is a way that we could expand the municipal lien charges that the city places on properties for outstanding charges. We currently do this for outstanding electrical, utility, and water. And so this is a way to expand it to state sanitary code, zoning ordinances, and to create a way or an incentive really to get folks that aren't paying their property taxes or other fees to the city to pay. It creates an incentive to have them pay earlier as opposed to putting a lien on their property.
Great. Anybody else? Hearing none, all in favor of passing the first reading?
Aye.
Opposed? So
Motion
moved.
motion to pass second reading?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to pass the second reading. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Motion that the passage be ordained?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded that the passage be ordained. There is no further discussion. The clerk will call the roll. A yes vote is in favor of the ordinance change. A no vote is to deny it.
McGivern.
Yes.
Tallman.
Yes.
Bacon.
Yes.
Alexander.
Yes.
Bartley.
Yes.
Greeny.
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Leahy.
Yes.
LeBron Martinez.
Yes.
Lisi.
Yes.
McGee. Yes. Unanimous vote.
By your unanimous vote, you have approved that ordinance change. Next up is Finance Committee reports. First is item 16A. This is a report from the Committee on Finance to whom was referred a financial transfer in the amount of $3,500. This is from pay of the city auditor to professional accounting. Have considered the same, recommend that it be approved. Councilors McGee, Leahy, Vacan, and Jordan.
Motion to receive, adopt, pass first reading.
Motion's been made and seconded to receive and approve the committee report, which is to adopt and pass its first reading. Under discussion, Councilor McGee.
Yeah, we took this all up prior to the special meeting with regards to the budget and everything. So what happened with that meeting was, in order to do certification and everything else, Bellamy went out and hired the outside auditor, and really what he's doing is he's taking money from his line item to pay for this. So just money from his account, not free cash.
Thank you.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of passing the first reading?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Pass second reading.
Second.
It's been made and seconded to pass the second reading. Any discussion? Hearing none, the clerk will call the roll. A yes vote is in favor of granting the transfer of $3,500. A no vote is to deny it.
McGivern.
Yes.
Tallman.
Yes.
Bacon.
Yes.
Alexander.
Yes.
Bartley.
Yes.
Greeny.
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Leahy.
Yes.
LeBron Martinez.
Yes.
Lisi. McGee.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
By your vote, you have approved the transfer request of $3,500. Item marked 16B, the Committee on Finance to whom was referred an order that the city invite in bond counsel to discuss stabilization fund, bond rating, impact to stabilization if money is used, etc. Have considered the same, recommend that the order has been complied with. Councilors McGee, Leahy, Vacan, and Jordan.
Motion to receive, adopt. That's
Motion has
complied
been
with.
made and seconded to receive and adopt the committee report. Under discussion, Councilor McGee.
We already took this up in the special meeting, so.
Yep. And she came in and gave a comprehensive report. Any other discussion? Councilor McGivern.
Just a quick note out of respect. Cinder's been with the city for 35, 40 years. Originally came out of Fleet Bank out of Rhode Island. She currently is working out of Boston, and a tremendous lady, but an incredibly knowledgeable person of our finances, but also of finances within the Commonwealth. And she's been on Wall Street more than once, acting on behalf of the city in terms of our bond rating with Moody's and what the important factors are. She said some very positive things about what we have done, despite what we're looking for. She did mention, you know, like anytime when you hit a financial crisis, you tighten your belts and you do your best to get through it. You don't panic and cut all the services, but you make sure that you make it affordable and you do what's right for the city. And she thinks we've done a pretty good job of not letting government grow, and despite the lack of revenue, that we've paid attention to the details. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comment? All in favor of adopting the committee report that this order has been complied with?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item number 16C is a report from the Committee on Finance, to whom was referred in order, that the mayor be and is hereby authorized to file and accept grants from the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs, and the EOEEA is offering a reimbursable grant of $280,000 for the renovation of the tennis courts at Crozier and Jones Point Park, and that by accepting this grant, Crozier Field and Jones Point Park shall remain open to the general public and used for the appropriate outdoor recreation in perpetuity, and that the mayor be and is hereby authorized to take such other actions as are necessary to carry out the terms, purposes, and conditions of this grant to be administered by the Department of Public Works, and that this resolution shall take effect upon passage. Have considered the same, recommend that the grant be denied. Councilors McGee, Leahy, Tallman, and Jordan.
Motion to receive, adopt, pass the first reading, to deny.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to receive the committee report and to adopt its recommendation and pass the first reading, that it be denied. Under discussion, Councilor McGee.
Yeah, we're not really denying it. We didn't get approved for it. So really, Bill put this out there to get it on the agenda because they're going to be starting their construction. He was hoping that we're going to get it, and then that day he did receive a letter saying that we didn't receive approval. So we're not denying it. We're just denying it through process because we never received it. So he's going to keep fighting for other grants to try and help cut the costs on the bonding for all this stuff that we're doing, but we just didn't receive the grant. That's all.
Okay. Any Councilor Leahy?
Yeah, it's a shame that we didn't receive this, but it's also been a shame how long this has been going on for. I've been working with Julia Flannery for some time regarding not only one tennis court, but all the tennis courts, making sure that all the parks are updated. You know, one of the things we have to continue doing as a community is not only improving sidewalks and cities' roads, but making sure all the city's parks are in the best shape possible. You know, this is a park, a lot of these parks I go to, one of the parks in particular I go to with my daughter Paige just the other day, and down in the Jones Point there is 3 to 4 inches of grass in these tennis courts. I mean, if we don't protect our tennis courts throughout the community, you know, it's going to cost us a lot of money down the road. Thank you.
Councilor Alexander.
Yeah, I want to compliment Councilor Leahy on getting his daughter Paige mentioned in there on his personal agenda. What is the start date for construction and an estimated completion date?
I don't have that.
We don't have that information?
He was supposed to come before us with a plan on when that's all it's going to start, and he had to do it in stages because you had Roberts Field, Crozier Field, and then Jones Point. But I know it's 3 different projects.
This is a little.
Dave, do you have that?
Rome wasn't built in a day, but it was built in some number of years. It'd be nice to get this going.
Did you have a date?
No.
Oh, I thought you had a suggestion here.
No, just Mackenzie Field's the other one, Todd.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and may I?
Yeah, Councilor Burley.
So, right, to Jim's point, we've been waiting on this for a long time, but the first step is going to be public presentations from the city engineer and from the Department of Public Works and et cetera, as to what is being proposed. So we haven't even got to that point yet.
We're far away.
Thank you.
Yeah, just, Mr. President,
yeah, Councilor McGee.
This was just to help offset the bond. The bond's finally been approved. The money's there. It's just now getting the project up and running. This was an attempt to try and take care of the 2 tennis courts that were part of the project, to then offset the bond and maybe use monies elsewhere. If not, put it back into the bonding. So it just didn't happen, unfortunately. So, I mean, the projects are still there to be worked on.
Any other thoughts? Okay. All in favor of passing the committee report's first reading, which is to deny? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Pass the second reading.
Okay.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to pass the second reading. Any discussion? Hearing none, the clerk will call the roll. Yes vote is to deny, which is by adopting the committee report. A no vote is to not adopt the committee report.
McGivern?
Yes.
Tallman?
Yes.
Bacon?
Yes.
Valentine? Alexander?
Yes.
Bartley?
Yes.
Graney?
Yes.
Jordan?
Yes.
Leahy?
Yes.
LeBron Martinez?
Yes.
Lisi?
Yes.
McGee?
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
Okay, by your vote, you've adopted the committee report and denied the grant. for the reasons stated. Okay, with
Mr.
respect, we
President?
have, oh, I'm sorry. Yes,
Can we
Councilor.
suspend necessary rules and take 2 items out of Public Safety Committee, please?
Okay, so
Second.
you want to remove from committee 2 items?
Yes,
Okay,
I have.
you have the items? Okay. You want to submit those, Ryan, go get those please from Councilor Vick. Okay. Councilor Vacan is requesting to remove from committee 2 items from the Public Safety Committee. First is signed by quite a number of councilors that the Honorable State Senator Don Humison give the council a status update on much needed work regarding the bridge located on Lyman Street just before the warehouse in Open Square. The other item she's seeking to remove from committee is that the DPW relocate the sand pile next to Pouliot Pool and for other purposes. So motion on the floor is to remove these 2 items from committee. Is there a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Councilor Vacan, we'll start with the first one, if you will, unless you want to do them together as a package. As a package, or?
We can take them as a package.
Okay. All right. So motion on the floor is to suspend the rules to take these 2 items as a package. All in favor of that?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Okay. So the first one is that the Honorable State Senator Don Humison give the council a status update on much needed work at the bridge covering the canal located on Lyman Street just before the warehouse in Open Square. The other order is ordered that the DPW relocate the sand pile next to the Pouliot Pool and Henry Fitzpatrick skating rink. The area where the sand is picked up poses a danger to the machinery at the rink, but also the potential of the public being struck by rink vehicles as they enter and exit the rink entrances directly adjacent to the sand pile. Also, please add a cover over the sand pile. Motion?
Thank you, Mr. President. A motion to accept the committee's recommendations and adopt. One recommendation for the senator to come in. The recommendation of committee was to refer it to DGNR to be consistent with other folks coming in dealing with state matters. Okay. And that was a unanimous vote of the committee to refer it.
Okay, what's the recommendation on the other?
And the other recommendation was that it be considered complied with because a new location at the Jed Day Landing was approved and designated by DPW.
Okay, so motion on the floor is that the order relative to Don Humison and the bridge work that be referred to DGNR, and that the second order relative to the sand pile be considered complied with. Is there a second to that? Second. Under discussion, Councilor Vacan.
They're self-explanatory. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Any other further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Now, with respect to Public Service Committee reports, we had a bit of a technical issue here. As you know, our rules require 3 members to sign the committee jackets under our current rules. Unfortunately, due to the absences that I mentioned to you earlier, Councilors Bresnahan, Valentin, and Soto are not with us, and therefore we would need a motion to suspend the rules to allow the president to, as you know, I can sit in under the rules to sit in the place when we lack a quorum, but we could suspend the rules to allow the president to sign as the third person on the jacket for the purposes of allowing these items before the committee.
Motion to suspend the rules.
Motion has been made and seconded to suspend the rules.
Was the president at the meeting?
Was the president at the meeting? No. But we can either suspend that rule to allow it to come before us for this evening with just 2 signatures, or we could make it a little more salient and just allow me to sign as the third signature for this purposes of having a majority.
Is it something pressing?
Well, there's quite a number of reports, and you're going to see, unfortunately, one is an appointment, so I don't think we'd want to delay that.
There are 2 appointments.
Excuse me, 2 appointments, so you've got 2 nominees. They would have to sit in committee if we don't suspend the rules.
There are 2 appointments, plus we acted on an order from Councilor Leahy.
Oh, that's always important, right, Jim?
Yeah, I like the way you think.
Mr. President?
Yeah.
Maybe this is literally out of sequential order, but do we know what the votes were on these in committee? There were more than
I don't think
there were more than three. They had quorum in the meeting.
Oh,
yeah, this was
yeah. It's just that the people here now were not here to sign the committee report.
But the committee report we know is a majority report.
Oh, yes. Definitely. It was unanimous.
Oh, yeah,
there was no objection
okay.
on any of these.
Okay.
Yeah,
right, there.
That guy first.
Oh, good. That's
then,
it. You're
yes, you're the third
Motion
one.
to suspend the rules to disinvite the
motion to suspend to allow the president to sign.
Second.
The annual hazing.
Okay, so a motion on the floor is to suspend the rules to allow the president to sign as the third signatory for this, just for this particular meeting, for just these particular reports. All in favor of that?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Okay, so with now 3 signatures on there, we have the first item up. The Committee on Public Service, to whom was referred a mayoral appointment of Ms. Kelly Curran to the Library Board of Directors for the City of Holyoke, have considered the same, recommend that the appointment be confirmed. Councilors Tallman, McGivern, and Jordan.
Receive the committee report.
Motion's been made and seconded to receive the committee report, to adopt it, and to confirm the appointment. Is there a second? Second. Under discussion, Councilor Tallman.
Yes, Kelly Curran came in for this position with for the Library Board of Directors, and she's the assistant superintendent in the school system, very involved in volunteer work in the Holyoke Public Schools. She's presently enrolled in a Master's in Public Administration at Westfield State University, and has her BS in Executive Business Management at Bay Path and Associates in Business at Holyoke Community College. And I think this should be a great addition, somebody that's very involved and wanted to be involved in city and civic government as a volunteer.
She's a wonderful person. We're very lucky to have her for this. Any other discussion? Councilor McGivern.
I think Councilor Tallman hit it all. Her resume speaks for herself. Just a tremendous amount of energy. She did say she'd keep an open mind about as the library board is transforming into a full city board as the years pass, as we all know is part of the agreement, that she would certainly go along and understand the importance of that. But a great addition, wonderful parents and a grandfather, and I think she'd be wonderful with the library.
Any other discussion? Okay. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item number 18B. The Committee on Public Service, to whom was referred a mayoral appointment of Paola Ferrario to serve as a member of the Historic Commission, have considered the same and recommend that the appointee be confirmed. Councilors Tallman, McGivern, and Jordan.
Make a motion to receive, adopt, and confirm the appointment.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to receive the committee report, to adopt, and to confirm the nominee. Under discussion, Councilor Tallman.
Another great appointment here. She has been involved in the city for a number of years. Actually, she was born in Italy. Very much into art. She's a landlord. I believe she has a couple homes here in Holyoke. Has traveled to and taught in Texas and Rhode Island and at Smith College. Very passionate about Holyoke and its architecture, and great. I mean, she studied art. She has her master's degree in art, and I think one of the things I made a note of, which she talked about Holyoke, was the word magnificent. You know, it's really a beautiful, from somebody from outside to see that. Sometimes we see buildings and we see storefronts and the canals, and we just, you know, we're used to it. We've been here our whole lives, but when you get somebody from the outside coming in and seeing that, just that term really hit it off for me, and I think she'd be definitely a great addition. I think she sent an email to everybody saying she's willing to work in the best interest of the city in this on this committee.
Great. Any other discussion? Councilor McGivern.
She loves the thought of preserving buildings and reuse and being able to keep their historical significance. And I think Peter pointed out the library, she says, is a perfect example of that, of old and new. She also has the flexibility of understanding that there does come a time when, after careful consideration, demolition must take place so as not to force a cost on the city too far down the road in terms of a building such as the Essex House and things that we face when it becomes a nightmare. But I think, again, a wonderful addition to the Historical Commission.
Anyone else? Okay. All in favor of adopting the committee report?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. The nominee is confirmed. Item number 18C is a report from the Committee on Public Service, to whom was referred an order that the Park and Rec Commission develop a plan for playground improvements at Mayor Field and to report to the Public Service Committee with its ideas along with a budget. Have considered the same and recommend that the order has been complied with. Perhaps we want to consider this, you want to suspend the rules to take
suspend
them
the
both
rules
up at
to
the same
take
time?
up C and D. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to suspend the rules to do 18C and 18D as a package. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. 18D, the Committee on Public Service, to whom was referred an order that the DPW and Park and Rec release the please consider the possibility of installing a water sprinkler play area for the kids at Rowan Park. Please consider a layout and provide the potential cost estimate. Have considered the same. Recommend that the order has been complied with. Both of these orders are signed off by Councilors Tallman, McGivern, and Jordan. Motion.
To receive and adopt the committee reports.
Motion is to receive and adopt the committee reports. Under discussion, Councilor Tallman.
Terry Shepard came in that evening and discussed both parks. And as Councilor Leahy stated earlier, it's not just about the roads and sidewalks. It's about our recreational areas in this community and having the areas where are safe and for people to play and get involved in sports. Both of these parks really need some work. Talked about Mayor Field, the equipment there, looking at a playground deal out there, and actually the equipment is costly, and so isn't the installation of it all. It would be approximately, I believe, over $50,000. And at Rowan Park, they're looking at. She came in the Premier Park and Play, looked at both of these parks with the equipment and a possible, water sprinkler system and in Rowan Park, and that's another cost. She gave us the designs, and it's something that the city has to look at and possibly, since we're short on cash, to bond for. But the designs are here; they're ready to go, and it's just looking at trying to get some possibly grant money. She stated that Mayor Field wouldn't be eligible for CDBG grants, but possibly Rowan may be. It's right on the borderline. So if Councilor Bartley or Kevin, Councilor, if you want to discuss a little bit more on that, I think it's important that we keep these and look at the improving the parks in our community with the funding that we have.
Councilor Bartley.
Sure. I really appreciate that, Councilor Tallman, President Jordan. So this is an order I filed on behalf of a constituent who has a young family that lives behind Mayor Field, and we met, and then I met with John Tuig, with Terry Shepard, and with the consultant in this summer, and we've had a lot of emails going back and forth. So they did a lot of work on putting together a budget, but it's expensive. Mayor Field, for people who know, it's on Westfield Road. It's on the Ward 3 side of the street. Across the street's Ward 5, as everybody here knows. So it's a lovely little pocket park, if you will, with a pee-wee diamond. It's used for soccer practice now, soccer games. There are some amenities there for little kids, but the hope here was to have amenities for kids ages 6 to 12. Maybe 6 to 13, for the little guys and gals, and some of the ideas that were generated were just great. I mean, little land, slides, little spray parks, some improvements to the swing sets and to the other climbing apparatus that are on site, and. So I hope that what you said earlier in your President's report, Mr. President, will come to fruition. I'd love to talk to you about this. As I said here, I'll just in conclusion, there are numerous young families that have moved on to Sheehan Drive, Park Avenue, Vermont, Rhode Island, all the Lake Streets in the last 5 years, and they want to have something to do with their kids right here in Holyoke, as opposed to having to travel too far. So hopefully when that comes before us again, we'll have time to really hear the nuts and bolts. But as Councilor Tallman said, we're looking at estimate in terms of equipment somewhere in the $65,000 range, and somewhere for what we planned, and installation is about the same. So you're looking at probably $130,000 for this type of work.
Thank you.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on that, to Councilor Tallman's point also, you know, big thing for me from hearing from the neighbors was about all in the Sargent Street and West Franklin neighborhoods was about getting a spray park included at Rowan Park. You know, we have beautiful playground there now, but really to complement that with a spray area. So certainly we'll be pushing hard to make that happen, and it's certainly a need there. A lot of young families. Councilor Leahy had his hand up.
Just very quickly, I think this order goes along the lines of an order that I filed back in the summer or the spring regarding the park benches in Merrifield, and not only in Merrifield, but all the fields. If you look at all the fields, we have concrete parcels that they put 2x4s through, and that's how they do the benches in each park. And if you don't stay on top of Terry, and she does a great job, and also the DPW, we have to make sure that those 2x4s are freshly painted and replaced when needed. I think you guys all saw the pictures of the constituents that one child actually broke through one of the 2x4s, and that can cause a lot of damage and harm to the child. So let's just stay on top of this. Thank you.
Great. Councilor McGivern.
It was a very healthy discussion. Just to add a couple of quick things. The president made his first talk about the bonding at this meeting, so some of us have heard it twice this week, and we're grateful to that. Councilor Leahy, I apologize. You do have an order in there that we discussed during this that was more comprehensive about all the parks. We kept that on the table after the discussion just to keep the dialogue open with the parks. As we know, the parks are in control of design, but it's the DPW who's in control of implementation and the actual work itself. I think one of the things we all agreed upon is those spray parks should be everywhere, and Kevin, I think you pointed out, last year was the first year we had no outdoor pool in the city of Holyoke, and I can never remember a day we didn't have at least one outdoor pool open up for our kids. It's just a shame and something that we have to work on too. It's money, but it's a lot of money in tough times, but it's money well spent.
Yeah, I mean, we can't just, I know we have tough financial times, but I think we'll all agree we can't just allow the community to crumble around us. And this is why we need this bonding to really keep, you know, the city moving, looking good, looking solid, looking fresh, and providing quality of life. Joe mentions about the pool. He's 100% right. We mentioned that as well. We have now the Pouliot pool. It's down for the count. We're praying that it can be salvaged, but if it does, if it can be, you're looking at anywhere between $500,000 and $1 million to get the pool back up to where it needs to be. So we certainly cannot expense that. Those are things that are long-term. We got lucky 35 years ago, and the state gave us that pool. So it didn't. We got that one for the goose egg. But now it's on us to make the necessary capital improvements. Councilor Alexander, I think you had your hand up. No, Councilor Graney.
In the interest of time, let's move the question, please.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of adopting the committee report?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? So moved. With just barely a quorum in the room, I note, almost the absence of a quorum if this were the United States Senate.
Quorum call.
Quorum call. Which brings us now to 19A, which is Development and Government Relations Committee. The Committee on Development and Government Relations, to whom was referred an order, ordered that the City Council, in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30B, and the Holyoke Procurement Ordinance, consider an offer from Stephen Bosco to purchase a parcel of land located at 99 Beach Street for $7,500. Said property is described in the Holyoke Assessor's records as Map 62, Block 5, Parcel 6, consisting of approximately 4,400 square feet of vacant land, more or less, and is more particularly described in a deed recorded in the Hampden County Registry of Deeds Book 10,710, page 123. The property is zoned DR, Downtown Residential District, and has an assessed value of $26,900. Have considered the same, recommend that the purchase be approved. Councilors Bartley, McGivern, Alexander, and LeBron Martinez.
A motion to receive and adopt the committee report.
Motion has been made and seconded to receive and adopt the committee report. Under discussion, Councilor Bartley.
So, Mr. Bosco, this is one of two unsolicited offers he made to the city of Holyoke. This is pretty much summed up well by you, Mr. President. Both parcels were declared surplus by this body. This offer was accepted by DGR. The other offer is laid on the table in DGR committee. The applicant has said that he has a 10-unit, 5-story building nearby, plans to use this, which amounts to basically 1/10 of an acre, as green space. He's himself said the lot cannot be built upon.
Okay, I'm just going to raise one point of order right now on this, and that is that I believe this is the sale of land is going to require 10 votes. And I just want to make sure we have 10 people present when the time comes for a vote. So, at the moment, we have 9. Councilor McGivern, under discussion.
I'll be a filibuster. Just in addition, as we're waiting for everybody to come back, Mr. Bosco, it's a sound presentation because the property he owns abuts this property. His presentation, I think, is what we like to see, where butters take on vacant lands, take on the responsibilities. It's green space now, although he can't build on it with a separate. He someday might be able to put an addition onto something and make it even more important to the city. But it complements the neighborhood. It complements what we're doing in a lot of neighborhoods. I think it's a good idea and a fair offer. And I agree with the mayor's negotiation with Mr. Bosco.
Councilor Alexander.
Thanks. Also, just killing time, I guess, for a second. I note the discrepancy between the offered purchase price and the assessed value, and I do think it's a fair offer. I have no issue with the offer at all, but it does kind of call into question. We have a lot of these little sliver parcels around the city, and maybe we should be taking a look at, are our assessments any good, particularly for these little unbuildable scrap lots that don't have comps, that don't, there's no sale history for them because nobody buys them, and I have a feeling we have many of them that are over-assessed significantly.
I'd be interested to know, now that it sells for $7,500. We see this all the time. I raised this probably 4 or 5 years ago. Was assessed at, fill in the number, this massive number, and it sells in an arm's length transaction for X. What's the assessment now? Right? I mean, it's got to come down.
And shouldn't it impact other similar properties?
Right.
The assessment and appraisal are different.
Yeah, it's just I do marvel at some of these that are way down. Councilor Leahy, you want to inquire as to the status of our 10th member? Councilor Tallman, under discussion.
Yeah, just very briefly, I know Steve has been here several times at the meetings, and he's done a lot as far as a receiver in this community, and I think this is a good thing for the city to actually have a piece of land that's not being used, to get some revenue in for, and to have this as an addition to a lot that he currently operates. Anytime we can sell a piece of land that's not being used is a plus for the city and a bonus for the city.
Absolutely. Second everything Pete just said.
Great. Councilor Lisa, you have the floor. Councilor LeBron Martinez, you have the floor.
Oh, no. Well said. Thank you.
Councilor Graney, you have the floor.
Mr. President, I make a motion to lay on the table for a moment.
All right. Motion is to lay item 19A on the table.
I withdraw my motion.
Wait a minute.
All right. Motion has been withdrawn.
Well,
except we lost Councilor Leahy now. Back to 9.
All right. Is he coming back? Oh.
It's a dinner
I sent him to get you, so.
We need 10 votes.
Oh.
There's a dinner party back there. You didn't know.
Second the motion to lay on the table.
All right. All in favor of tabling?
Aye.
All right. Opposed? So moved. We'll come back to 19A. 19B. 19B, the Committee on Development and Government Relations, to whom was referred an order that, in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 4A, the City Council approve an intermunicipal agreement between the Town of Amherst, the City of Holyoke, the City of Northampton, the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission, the City of Holyoke, City of Springfield, the University of Massachusetts Amherst for a regional bike share program. Have considered the same, recommend that it be adopted. Councilors Bartley, McGivern, Alexander, and LeBron Martinez.
Motion receive and adopt the committee report.
Motion's been made, seconded to receive and adopt. Under discussion, Councilor Bartley.
This is a memorandum of understanding that we had between the aforementioned communities. We had Marcus Murrow, Andrew Smith join us. And so it needs City Council approval because it is an intermunicipal agreement. If we approve it, it would go before the mayor. This does not commit the city to any funding whatsoever. There is a group, the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission, which we're all familiar. They're serving as a consultant. Basically, the plan is to build bike racks and have bikes available for rent in certain locations. They're eyeing, for example, near the Amtrak rail platform, there's rhetoric to say, well, if folks take a train, this would be quote unquote the last mile of the trip. If folks want to not rent a car, in other words, they can take a bike to their ultimate destination in town. The range is really wild. Is between the cost factor. The range we were given was between $39,000 and $624,000 to establish this, depending upon what type of arrangement we agreed to. But for right now, there is no financial commitment to the city. The mayor would have to come back to city council with more explicit details. This just allows the planning process to move forward and to be led by PVPC. Thank you.
There's Houdini.
10 votes or majority on this, you know? Majority, okay, great. Any other discussion? Councilor Lisi.
I'm just going to be really brief. I'm really excited that we're moving forward on creating this intermunicipal agreement. I've been to a number of cities across the U.S. that have really robust bike share programs, and I think it would be a perfect fit for the Pioneer Valley, making use of the rail trails and hopefully expanding the connections into Holyoke and getting more people riding into and servicing Holyoke.
Okay. Any other thoughts? Hearing none, clerk will call the roll. A yes vote is in favor of adopting 19B and approving this intermunicipal agreement. A no vote is to deny it.
McGivern?
Yes.
Tolman?
Yes.
Alexander?
Yes.
Bartley?
Yes.
Graney?
Yes.
Jordan?
Yes.
Leahy?
Yes.
LeBron Martinez?
Yes.
Lisi?
Yes.
McGee? Yes. Unanimous vote.
By your vote, you have approved the item marked 19B, the intermunicipal agreement regarding the bike share.
19A, make a
Motion
motion.
on the floor is to remove 19A off the table.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Renew my motion to receive and adopt.
Motion has
Second.
been made and seconded to receive and adopt. Any further discussion? Hearing none, clerk will call the roll. A yes vote is in favor of approving the sale of this parcel for $7,500. A no vote is to deny.
McGivern?
Yes.
Tolman?
Yes.
Alexander?
Yes.
Bartley?
Yes.
Graney?
Yes.
Jordan?
Yes.
Leahy?
Yes.
LeBron Martinez?
Yes.
Lisi? Yes. McGee?
Yes. Unanimous vote.
By your vote, you have approved the sale of that parcel, 99 Beach Street, for $7,500 to Mr. Bosco. Okay, brings us now to 19C. 19C is from the Committee on Development and Government Relations, to whom was referred a special permit application for a non-conforming structure to be located at 1065 Hamden Street for Mr. Robert Everett. Have considered the same. Recommend that the special permit be approved. Councilors Bartley, McGivern, Alexander, and LeBron Martinez.
Receive and adopt the committee report and grant a special permit.
Motion's been made and seconded to receive the committee report, to approve it, and to grant the special permit for a non-conforming structure to Mr. Everett.
So in discussion, this was a public hearing. We didn't hear any opposition to it. We had a chance to speak with legal counsel after the fact and confirmed that this is a proper forum. It is a special permit. It is not for a variance. And so the Everetts, if you recall, were here once before, but we had a little technical glitch with the application, but we've since resolved that, and they are now back properly before us. And basically what they have is a very old garage that they want to tear down, and they want to build a new modern garage. All the neighbors were notified properly. They are good to go with everything, and the Everetts are looking forward to this vote. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Council Leahy.
Yeah, just very quickly, I want to say I'm going to support this. It's an excellent family. What they're trying to do is everything in the right way. So I definitely will vote for this, and I encourage you guys to do as well. How many are there?
Huh?
Seems like everyone's gone.
There's 10 of us.
Oh, wow. All right,
Yep.
thank you.
Yep. So,
not for very long.
Yep.
Not
so
for very long.
all of these have to be unanimous on these 10-vote ones. Councilor Tallman.
Yeah, I'll go along with Mr. Lay. I've known the Everett family all my life. Lived right down the street from me, and they're doing the right thing with their garage. And I'm sorry it took a little delay to getting this taken care of, but I'm glad that we moved along on a fast track. Thank you, Councilor Bartley.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, the clerk will call the roll. A yes vote is in favor of adopting the committee report and approving the special permit for the non-conforming structure. A no vote is to deny it.
McGivern?
Yes.
Tallman?
Yes.
Alexander?
Yes.
Bartley?
Yes.
Graney?
Yes.
Jordan?
Yes.
Leahy?
Yes.
LeBron Martinez?
Yes.
Lisi?
Yes.
McGee? Yes. Unanimous vote.
By your vote, you have approved the permit for Mr. Everett. Item 19D, the Committee on Development and Government Relations, to whom was referred a special permit application for a commercial drive-through use. This is a fast food drive-through for the Shield Hotel Management Group, located at 245 Whiting Farms Road. Have considered the same, recommend that the special permit be approved. Councilors Bartley, McGivern, Alexander, and LeBron Martinez.
Motion to receive, adopt the committee report, and grant special permit.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to receive the committee report, to adopt its recommendation, to grant, and to therefore grant the special permit application for a commercial drive-through. Under discussion, Councilor Bartley.
So this was hour 2 of a 3-hour meeting that happened last Wednesday as a subcommittee. So really thanks to everybody in the committee for kind of hanging in there. We had before us, I'm going to take a few minutes here because it's just an important parcel in Ward 5, and these questions are going to come up time and time again over the next several months, I think, so you might as well hear it now. John Furman is presented. He's from the engineering firm. So because this is a public hearing, I just want, the first thing he said was he really gave a lot of credit to the planning board for its business friendly. Oh, where's the Chamber of Commerce? Oh, they left. Oh, okay. Where's the tax? Oh, no, they're not here either. Oh, geez. Okay, but he really wanted to compliment the planning board for its work and really having a lot of foresight to move this project along, which it is moving along. There's a great deal of construction going on Lower Westfield and Whiting Farms Road. Yeah, I'm sure they're. Well, one's not non-resident, so he can't watch it, but one is a resident, so hopefully they can watch it at home. But I'll send the tape up to Dowd Insurance if he needs it. Per city ordinance, the city council has jurisdiction over special permits for drive-throughs. Mr. Furman was kind enough to kind of summarize the 4 steps that we have to follow to approve. They met them all. So just for updates on the project, well, the 4 steps were the lot has to be a certain size, the lot can't be within a certain distance of residence or a school, and the access and egress have to be a certain distance apart. They hit the nail on all 4 aspects. He spoke in general about the project itself. 2/3 of the original hotel demolished. There's a pad site that's going to be Applebee's, as you know. There's another pad site for what's called Vitamin Shop, which is going to have 2 other retail stores, so 3 retail stores there. The 3rd pad site is McDonald's, and that's going to be on the Whiting Farm side behind O'Connell's Convenience, if you will. So with this project, Mr. President, and we kind of went far afield, but Councilor McGivern led us down a good path here because we really kind of got into a really great discussion. It was beyond the special permit aspect of it, but I thought I would just summarize here. There are 5 intersections up there that are being, as part of this project, upgraded, and he was quick to announce that it's about a $500,000 expense. That there was a DOT road safety audit, and there was and really the main point here that during the public hearing there was no opposition whatsoever to the plan. So with that, I encourage you to either ask me any questions or we'll just proceed accordingly. Thank you.
Thanks. Just in 1 second, I just wanted to add one thing, which is the first time that the city has actually done a site master plan for all of the things that are going onto that property, not just for one piece of the development that happens to be requesting a permit at the moment. So the whole property, including the 2 hotels, everything around the Shell station on the corner right there, was all evaluated at once for traffic flow and everything. First time ever, and I just want to compliment the planning department and the planning board for taking that approach.
In terms of the actual drive-through, I think it makes sense. I think it makes sense on the property because McDonald's developer actually did an even better job than the McDonald's, not criticizing McDonald's downtown, but the drive-through downtown in terms of the flow of traffic on their parcel will be regulated to go around the building and not to be able to go in 2 directions, which can cause problems on site. The egress, there's a lane within, and I think Councilor Alexander was just pointing this out on the property. That makes a lot of sense. That has cars traveling back and forth outside the different parcels. In the egress on Whiting Farms Road is taken into a lot of mitigation of traffic coming off the highway, traffic coming from Pyramid, traffic coming from lower Westfield Road, and getting in and out of that property real quick. I will note, and Councilor Bartley said I did go a little bit too far with this, and I apologize, but shame on me because I didn't look at this before the entire site, before this came before us. And I think we're going to have to do some tweaking to the traffic on Whiting Farms Road coming towards the property. But we've had that problem before, and we've worked on it. The most recent one was when we tried to keep that traffic flowing quicker by keeping that right-hand turn lane all the ways from before Cracker Barrel up until lower Westfield Road. And I think we all know it's regardless of what happens on this property and the mall, the traffic is a tremendous congestion during the commuter hours, and it starts down on Route 5 and heads towards, for different reasons, towards Whiting Farms Road. But the drive-through makes sense, and I commend the developer for all the work that was put into it. And it seems to make sense not just for McDonald's, but for the entire parcel.
Mr. Chairman, did anybody ask about why another McDonald's in Holyoke? I mean, we already have 2. Is that all we're good for? Is, you know,
they're serving breakfast all day now. That's why.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that it just seems like a missed opportunity for a premier piece of property that, once again, all we're getting is another McDonald's, and you know, we need variety in the restaurants in the city, and I guess that's all we're good for. You know,
well,
is an on and off the highway McDonald's in one of the premier marquee properties. I mean, I'm going to vote for this, but I have really a tough time getting excited about a 3rd McDonald's jump in, jump off the highway for Holyoke. I mean, it's
right. Yeah, Mr. Redmond was unable to attend the subcommittee hearing, which is the reason why we had the civil engineer before us doing the presentation by himself. So it wasn't an opportunity to ask, because he's just, you know, he's hired to do the drawings and lay it out. I mean, he's not making marking decisions. So that question wasn't asked, but it's a fair one.
Yeah, Councilor Lisi.
I was under the impression that it's not McDonald's, but Chipotle, which is a McDonald's project.
McDonald's.
It's McDonald's.
There is another restaurant on
Applebee's.
The overall plan.
It's going to be the nutrition. Yeah, there's Applebee's, which is great, and I'm you know, we have very few sit-down restaurants in the city, and you know, that's why Cracker Barrel was great. We got JP's, we got, you know, Friendly's, but if you really think about it, from what Holyoke used to have, we have very few come in, sit down, have a meal type of places. You got, I mean, we have McDonald's. We already have 2 McDonald's. Go ahead, Councilor Lee, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you. Is Mr. Redman, is he what's his role, if I could?
Huh? Oh, and one at the mall. Thank you. So we have 4 McDonald's. McDonald's number 4. One inside the mall, one on the outside. So if you miss the one on the inside, you catch this one.
What is Mr. Redman's role?
I'm sorry.
Is he the owner?
He's some property developer for them, isn't he? Like in their real estate.
He's the head of whatever his title is of Shield Management, and they own it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think we dealt with him earlier.
Mr. Gomez is the one who owns these 2.
Yeah, no, he's yes. But Mr. Redmond, I remember dealing with him with the amount of homeless and the amount of issues that the Holyoke Police Department had. Right. You know, say if could we table this and have him come in?
Sure.
So I'm going to vote against this because I'm going to make a motion to table this.
Okay. Second. Motion's been made second to have Mr. Redmond come in. Councilor McGivern.
Thank you. Good questions about McDonald's. Good questions about the need for a third one. Now, Mr. Gomez, I have a feeling Mr. Gomez might own this one too, who owns both the McDonald's that stand free in Holyoke, is a corporate citizen that we should all applaud.
Yeah.
Tremendously generous to the people that work for him, the jobs he provides. He provides a lot to charity. He provides a lot of things, and that's a corporate citizen. But, you know, we cannot control free enterprise by the vote of a special permit. Free enterprise is free enterprise. Yeah. You know, we cannot hold someone hostage as to what they find in terms of a vendor for their property. The zoning allows for this. This vote is nothing but a drive-through. It's nothing to do with who's going to be on location. The person who brings the money to the table is the person who's going to be on location. There are 2 sit-down restaurants on this property planned on the corner ends of the 2 retail stores. One's a nutrition store, and there's a second hotel going up. I think the total square footage of both hotels together may equal the former Holiday Inn, which was a tremendous asset to the city. But this is what we talk about in terms of new growth. You know, maybe we don't like McDonald's, maybe we don't like Burger King, maybe we don't like Dunkin' Donuts, but that's not the point. That's free enterprise. The person that comes to the table with the money to invest it, these are the people that we have to look forward to. And if it makes sense to everything, traffic mitigation, traffic flow, then the drive-through works, and I think that's what we have to do.
Councilor Graney.
This is going to provide tax revenue to the city, so let's move the question and vote on this thing, please.
Councilor Leahy.
Yeah, no, I agree. In fact, one of the 9 boards that I serve on, I'll be seeing Mrs. Gomez tomorrow at the Boys and Girls Club bright and early. And I too agree that you know, this is private development. But one of the questions I have is I haven't spoken to Mr. Redmond. The issues with the Holyoke Police Department, they had plenty. I mean, we had the chief of police in here saying that they had significant issues. They had more calls at the Holyoke housing, whatever the hotel is, and I'd like to hear him. I'd like to hear what he has to say.
So I'd like to suspend the rules to allow the law department to address the city council, because if this were to be defeated, does this preclude them from coming back for 2 years to apply, or is there any rule on that for a thing? Or, because there is a motion on the floor of the table and have somebody come in, but okay, you'll look into it. Any other discussion on this?
What do we need for the permit?
Well, huh?
10
votes for the permit?
That's right. Everybody. It's a special permit. Yeah, Councilor.
Well, you know, far be it from me to question a councilor's motion, so I won't do it. But if we're here saying that we're tabling something and having this gentleman come in, so that means I've got to hold. And now we had a 3-hour hearing last Wednesday.
But he didn't show up, though.
He didn't show up. But no other counselor than the committee members showed up. So that was a move. He could have shown up with his family and his mother and everybody else, but he wasn't going to ask any questions. Now, watching from home is fine, but if you want to come down and ask questions, think about it when the meeting's going on. As I said, it was a 3-hour hearing. And the second thing.
Yeah, I remove my motion, and what I could do is refile another order to have him come in.
Okay.
I mean, we can't compel him to come in. So.
Mr. President?
Yeah, Councilor Green.
The perception that Holyoke is not business friendly, this is an example of it. This is an example of it. We're sitting here debating something that the Department of Government and Relations have already considered for 3 hours, and they brought a recommendation to this committee. Let's move on it.
Yeah, but, you know, again, I think that this fake narrative of anti-business because you talk about something here for an extra 4 minutes in city council chambers is hardly a massive delay. I mean, we've had about 4 minutes of dialogue here. I mean, that's hardly.
Councilor Bartley just said that they debated for 3 hours.
Well, yeah, so now it's 3 hours and 4 minutes. I don't think that's exactly impeding the operations of McDonald's. I mean, try getting through their drive-through in 4 minutes. I sat in there for 12 the other day trying to get a drink. You know, so I don't know. Did that impede my progress of the government? So, anyways.
I don't know. It looks like
yeah, Councilor McGivern.
We closed the public hearing. I think I'm not saying these aren't good questions, But because we closed the public hearing, we can't bring in new testimony. We can report the testimony we received at the public hearing.
The motion to table has been withdrawn.
I suggest that we file another order.
I already withdrew it on the motion.
So, Councilor Lee, okay, I just want to be careful that, you know.
I thought I had the floor, but I guess we've.
You do, and I think your suggestion is, and I think Councilor Lee has accepted that suggestion, which is not to tie it into this, but to file a separate order to have them come in. Does that capture your point?
That's fine, Mr. President. I like it when it comes out of my mouth, but that's okay.
All right. Any other thoughts from anybody before we go? All right. So, on the vote at this time shall be by roll call. A vote in favor of adopting the committee report with its recommendation to approve the drive-through of this new 4th McDonald's in Holyoke. A yes vote is in favor of that drive-through. A no vote is to deny that drive-through. Clerk will call the roll, please.
McGivern?
Yes.
Tallman?
Yes.
Alexander?
Oh, yes, please.
Bartley?
Yes.
Graney?
Reluctantly, yes.
Jourdain?
Yes.
Leahy?
Yes.
LeBron Martinez?
Yes.
Lisi?
Yes.
McGee? Unanimous vote.
A lot of power with that one. A lot of power.
You almost got a free Happy Meal on
Yeah,
that one.
that was a Big Mac power moment.
10 votes in favor from the pro-business city council, 10 and 0. In favor of a 3rd drive-through for a McDonald's in Holyoke. Councilor Bartley, we now move on to the next of your committee reports, marked 19E, the Committee on Development and Government Relations, to whom was referred a communication from Whitman Properties.
That's not a table in committee. It should be right at the bottom of your.
This was tabled in DG&R.
Table in committee, yeah.
So therefore, this should not have made it to the agenda? Is that what I'm hearing? Okay. So that is still tabled.
Yes, sir.
We wish 19E well, and we now move on to 19F. 19F is from the DG&R committee, to whom was referred a communication update from the planning department on the Mount Tom coal plant. It's a reuse study. Recommend that the update has been received, and the committee will report back to the full council.
Right, yeah, a motion to adopt the committee report.
Okay, motion is to adopt the committee report. This was also signed off by Bartley, McGivern, Alexander, and LeBron Martinez in committee. Motion on the floor is to receive and adopt the committee report. Under discussion, Councilor Bartley.
So this is what was produced, the report. There's been I think Mike wrote a couple articles in Mass Live and the paper on the power plant. So, and he did a great job actually in summing up what happened, but I'll just expand upon it very briefly. Marcos Marrero came in. He provided some background on the Citizens Advisory Group, which was created by this body by ordinance, and it's basically to review options that the city had to what's going to happen to the plant once it closes. So one of the committee members, Rick Purcell from Ward 3, came in, did a really nice job of introducing some of the stakeholders. Marcos did a great job as well in kind of summarizing. And a lot of credit goes to former Senator Knappich and Rep. Mike Kane, because they kind of led the charge to, once this body was created, they led the charge in Boston to get the money to hire consultants, which ultimately produced this report. So the consultant gave a really nice PowerPoint presentation. He took some questions. Thankfully, a representative, a vice president from GDF Suez came in, and he could not have been more forthright. He answered every question that was posed to him. He really deserves a lot of credit for coming here and spending some time with us. So basically what he said is, going forward, and he said in essence that his company agrees with this report. He was very thankful for the Commonwealth for coming up with the funds, because the report coming from his group as opposed to an independent third party would not have meant as much, and so he was thankful for that. So going forward is a question mark. I mean, the body here should know that there are 128 acres of property up there. But if you read this report, which is really easy to read, it's laid out beautifully. I mean, there's coal ash all over the place up there. At least 21 little dump sites or whatever. You got a huge 372-foot smokestack. This asbestos all throughout there, Mr. President. It's going to take time. It's going to take money, and so going forward, after that is done, one thing that Mr. Hsu said from GDF Suez, they do not intend to sell. They're going to hold on to the property, and they're thinking per the study, which there are copies in the back office, they liked option 3, which is to do what? To put in solar fields, to do some other green things like that might pertain to giving the communities better access to the riverfront. I think one of the important things that Rick said that night was to think about giving some of these the jobs that are there that are going to be generated by this, to consider Holyoke people. And so I'm glad Gladys is on the committee to talk about how Career Point could probably help out with that. Mr. Hsu seemed amenable to it. If you read this report, you'll see there are 28 jobs that were killed. The last 20 jobs were killed. 3 were Holyokers, 25 were not Holyokers, whatever. But yeah, I think Rick's point was emphasized by that. So with that, I mean, and this was, I mean, a really large part of the hearing. So I summed up, 50 minutes of talking, hopefully under 4. Thank you.
Councilor Alexander.
Just to note that the full report from the Mount Tom reuse people will be on the Office of Planning's, redevelopholyoke.org website. Okay. They should have a link up to it by now.
HolyokeDevelopment.com.
Thank you.
Great, Councilor McGivern.
I have to admit, I was a little skeptical when this group was formed, but they did a tremendous job. Not only did they thoroughly look at a very difficult situation, a floodplain, railroad tracks on the river, and a nightmare of a cleanup, they worked with the property owner, which I think they have to be commended, and I think we have to so far commend the property owner. We're never going to make back the taxable dollars that we had, but commend the property owner to their commitment to taking down the smokestack, taking down the existing building, and doing the correct cleanup. I know they're required to under laws and so forth, but too often you hear about these type of companies walking away. And so far they've been taking the high road, and the plan is better than just that property sitting there with a big price for cleanup. And I think the committee did a tremendous job of putting this all together and focusing on it.
Great. Any other thoughts? Okay, very good. All in favor of adopting the committee report?
Aye.
Aye.
We didn't have any Charter and Rules Committee reports for this particular meeting.
Point of information?
Yes.
How many items are in Charters and Rules?
I'd have to. There's a number in there. Yeah.
Maybe 10.
10?
We'll have to.
We hope that the chairman might want to clean that up before he leaves us.
That's all the late files, I'm sure, are all on that.
I thought about just pulling everything out of committee, but most of them are LTWs later anyway. So.
Yeah. Okay, very good. Moving on to motions, orders, and resolutions. And we first start with item 21, which comes to us by way of Councilor Tallman. Ordered that the zoning ordinance section 4.4.1 and any other sections be amended as necessary to allow for the accessory use of motor vehicle repair to be done as of right in limited situations such as the repair of fleet vehicles. Further ordered that section 86-3 of the Code of Ordinances be reviewed and amended as necessary to be consistent with zoning with regards to where motor vehicle repair is allowed.
We receive and send it to the Ordinance Committee.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to receive and refer to ordinance.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item number 22, introduced by Councilor Vacan, that a legal opinion be provided regarding cemeteries, that as defined, an area of land set aside and dedicated for the final depository of the remains of a deceased person, there is an indication in law, regulations, etc., that land shall not be used for any other purpose. Please provide an opinion that indicates if a cemetery can be used for any other purpose allowed by right, such as a daycare or a solar or other as of right use. Motion
to send to the law department and have a communication sent to City Council.
Yep, motion is receive, adopt, refer to the law department for a legal opinion with a copy back to the City Council within a couple of weeks. You think would be enough, or 1 month was requested? So within 30 days, report back to the City Council. Any discussion? As you know, we do have a potential solar field in a cemetery pending out there. Councilor Bartlett.
Just these 22, 23, and 4, Councilor Bacon, she had to leave. She wasn't feeling well. She asked me just to pinch it for her.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All in favor of adopting and referring to the Law Department?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Can you just add my name to 22, 3, and 4?
Sure.
With the maker's
Adding
permission, but we've already discussed it.
Yeah, adding Councilor Alexander's name to 22, 23, and 24 as a co-sponsor. Item number 23, introduced by Councilor Bacon, that the A&R laws be reviewed and amended to establish a permitting process when business zones abut residential zones.
So receive, adopt, and refer this to, I would say, ordinance, but with a copy to planning and the law department.
Second.
Just to, what do you mean?
Not
To adopt.
Oh, receive, to receive.
Just receive, refer
to receive and refer, I'm sorry.
Yeah, receive and refer to ordinance with copies to whom?
Legal and planning.
I would say legal and planning, yeah.
Okay, with copies to legal and planning. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Item 24. Item 24 is introduced by Councilor Bacon, that the City Council be provided with a copy of the position posting for City Auditor and publications where the ad was placed. I'd like to add also my name as a co-sponsor to this.
Add Graney to that, please.
And Councilor Graney.
And my name, Kevin.
And Bartley.
I'd like to make a motion to receive and refer this to personnel and to the mayor's office, and so one or the other could send a communication for our January 5th meeting.
Yep.
Please.
Motion has been made and seconded to receive, adopt this, send a copy to the personnel director as well as the mayor with a request to have all of these materials reported back to us by January 5th at the latest, preferably sooner. We're hoping that this is taken care of. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item 25, introduced by Councilor Bartley, that the city affix a handicap parking sign on the telephone pole in front of 99 Carlton Street.
Receive, send to ordinance.
Thank you.
Okay, motion's been made, second, receive,
Copy
refer
to
ordinance with a copy
Commission
to
on
the
Disabilities.
Disabilities Commission. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item 26 is introduced by Councilor Bartley, that the city engineer assess the merits of installing a dedicated left turn arrow on the lights at Northampton Street for motorists turning left onto South.
Public safety, please.
Motion is made and seconded to receive, refer to public safety with a copy to the city engineer.
Mr. President, can you add me to that one as well?
Yeah.
Adding Councilor Alexander, Councilor Tallman.
If you don't mind, if you add my name onto that too, please.
Adding Councilor Alexander and Councilor Tallman as co-sponsors. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item 27 is an order introduced by Councilors Bartley and LeBron Martinez that the city remove the no parking sign in front of 70 Chestnut Street.
Motion to
formerly the Whiting School.
right.
Have to
Receive
go
and
through
refer
ordinance.
to ordinance.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to receive, refer to ordinance with a copy of the
Copy to
disabilities. No, it's just
copy to DPW.
ordinance committee with a
DPW for.
Copy to
with a copy
DPW.
to DPW.
Yeah.
They can take it down, get it done sooner rather than later.
Okay.
Yeah, it just says no parking school entrance or whatever it says on there, so.
Okay. All right. Councilor McGivern.
Mr. President, I'd like to ask that Councilor Soto's name be added to this. It's no secret that Councilor Soto has been added his name to 999 orders through the course of his career. One more will break the all-time city council
The
record.
record for
In absentia,
most
could we
co-sponsors.
please add Councilor Soto?
Councilor Soto's name shall be added to item 27. Now reaching 1,000 co-sponsorships in his 4-year tenure.
Well done.
Well done. That's up there with Brady and Manning now, and those the pantheon of records. Very good. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Item 29. Item 29 introduced by Councilor LeBron Martinez, that the City Council provide a proclamation to Miss Letitia Brunetti Boucher in celebration of her 100 years of her birth and as a resident of Holyoke. Receive and adopt.
Receive and adopt.
And our distinguished counselor, former Councilor Devine's working on the proclamation as we speak.
I heard. I just want to share that actually it happens to be Mr. Reno's mom For those who know, he worked here in the city before, but
okay.
it is.
I didn't know that.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Councilor Tallman.
If you could, is she live in Chestnut Street, 41 Chestnut, as she did at one time?
Yeah, I have. I don't know much about her, to be honest with you. I was asked if the city, I know they start providing it. I thought that as a city council we should, but I have her her bio here, and what I know is she worked for the school department at one point as a teacher aide. She had a deli here back in the days.
Councilor Graney was probably a student of hers.
Did you guys know who she was? So
I just like to, if you don't mind, put my name in. I
Kindergarten.
recall.
Kindergarten.
I recall. I think she came from a large family, and
Yeah.
One of her sisters was one of my mother's best friends, and I think she lived on Chestnut Street. I remember going door to door there maybe about 10 years ago, and she was there at 41 Chestnut. So if I could add my name onto that, it'd be.
anyway, I mean, this will be go. I think on behalf of all of us. So if anyone wants to, I don't.
Yep, absolutely. This is great. One thing I wish that we would start as a tradition that other towns have is like they have like a walking stick type of thing for whoever's the current reigning oldest resident of Holyoke or reigning oldest resident or
Maybe we could give him a segue.
city.
I think we have a couple not in use.
Yeah, absolutely. We could think of something.
I think this is interesting to kind of have the the individuals who can live this long. I would love to hear their stories so that they can share and tell me what.
It's tremendous.
Like our historian back next to me here, so I can imagine.
Yeah, we'll be giving one of these to Joe McGivern one time in honor of.
Not that way.
Not tell 100-year-old stories yet.
And he'll still be on the city council, so you just reach right over and hand it to him.
So.
All right, very good. All in favor of adopting this?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item number 30, introduced by Councilor LeBron Martinez, that the City Council provide a proclamation to Miss Basilia Maldonado in celebration of her 103 years of birth, December 1st, 2000 and I believe we want to say, 1912, I would assume is right.
Oh my God, I'm sorry, I didn't mean
Is,
to
as a resident and as a resident of Holyoke.
Yes.
Okay.
And this is another one who I actually know the family, so when they told me her age, I was intrigued by it. So I said, let's give her a proclamation as well.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Great. So, all in favor of adopting this?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Wonderful. Also introduced by Councilor LeBron Martinez that all city administration inform city councilors of any reports to be released to the public and to the media within ample time, so we do not learn of the information through media outlets instead of the responsible person for such department. I'd like to add my name as a co-sponsor to this. This is a great order. Councilor LeBron Martinez, you have the floor.
As you all know, the release that happened this week in regards to the situation at Peck, I don't want to go into details, but I just thought that I actually learned by the news at 5 o'clock, and I feel that we could have been informed. So when the media started calling, I had Boston Globe calling, I didn't respond to the call because I did not even know the details, and trying to reach somebody at that time, it was kind of late. Yep. So I'm just, I didn't, besides being frustrated about the situation, I think we need, if we get informed, at least we know what's happening and we don't wait for the media to tell us. It was an embarrassment moment for me. So.
No, you're absolutely right. And as you know, this has been in the front page. I want to say the front page. I want to say of the Boston Globe. It also has been running daily in the evening news, and it's being picked up on national news. So it would be nice for us to know about, what's going on, or at least before, it's generally released to the public, and otherwise that would be helpful. Councilor Graney?
It's a great order. Add my name to that, please.
Yep, adding Councilor Graney's name to this.
Yes.
Councilor Leahy?
If I could, with the approval of the maker of the order.
Adding Councilor Leahy's name. Councilor McGivern?
Just a tremendous order, and I think it goes along the lines, the easiest way to do it is like Lieutenant Albert. And I think we all get the information.
Yeah, right, exactly. A press release or whatever,
basis, yeah. And I know other organizations and committees do it the same way, where you get an email on 2 or 3 times a week and includes what's going to be released, and you get the heads up and you can prepare yourself.
I mean, obviously you have to have a media spokesperson, and I'm sure they have to be very, you know, now there's also a potential criminal investigation going on. The district attorney is reviewing this as well, so, you know, we'll see where it all goes. But, you know, it would be helpful for us to at least know, as a general rule, what's going on and the information involved in it. So that would be very, very helpful.
And I know I should have had filed an order, but I didn't want to put another late order. But it is also, as a city, I think people felt that, you know, no one sort of took a stand publicly, like a press conference. And as a city councilors, I think that should have been our duty too, because not that we want to go on either side, but to say we're here as a city council to support families, support children in any way we can. So that's all I wanted to say on that.
Well, yeah, and I think that goes hand in hand with them giving us information. We don't, yeah, I mean, you take a stand on what?
What, yeah.
It's already gone by. It's like you missed the train, you know, and then you're making comments days after it all becomes an event. You're absolutely right. I mean, no, we have no information. We don't know anything that's going on. We're just reading the statements in the paper, you know,
right.
But Mr. Paez says, you know, I guess apparently he says it didn't happen, or, you know, or disputes these allegations or whatever, but we'll see. We'll see what it all plays out. The whole situation is extremely tragic, and obviously we want to make sure all of our children, I know certainly as a father with kids in the public schools, I want to make sure everybody's safe at all times. That's critically important.
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor of adopting this order?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So moved. Item number 32 is an order to introduce. Okay.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to receive items 32, 33, 34, have abbreviated reading and refer all of them to finance. All in favor of that?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item 32 is to accept the FY16 9/11 training grant. Item 33 is to transfer $692 from general fund free cash to pay the assistant clerk. And item 34 is to transfer $14,000 from free cash to pay for a series of election expenses. Motion on the floor is to send all of those to finance. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item 35. Oh, we have no item 35, so we're now in the late file section.
But I'm missing something.
Okay, very good. Late file A. Late file A, introduced by letter, communication from the mayor, Alex Morse, dated December 11th, 2015. This letter is to formally acknowledge that I have chosen a partnership between Dowd Financial Services and Ross Insurance Agency as the broker of record for the city of Holyoke. Upon confirmation by the council, official notification will be sent to the carriers under separate cover. Okay, not sure why this is coming in on the 15th of December, or this came in on the 11th of December, but we're just hearing about it now. I don't know why this didn't get mailed out, but I think we should suspend the rules to have a brief discussion just so we understand what's going on here. Okay, motion's made and seconded to suspend the rules to have a discussion of this item, which will go to committee, I would assume, or full council, either choice. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Okay. If you will recall, councilors, we have an ordinance in place that says that the Section 19 committee is to recommend a broker of record for the mayor's consideration. The Section 19 committee basically didn't really quite pick one. They just said, here's the four that, and there were the relative pros and cons. The mayor, this was actually supposed to be done this past summer, but it was delayed for unexplained reasons. And they said that they would have a process such that we could get somebody on board for January. That's obviously now not going to happen because they're submitting to this for now, so we need to have due diligence to review the proposals. Under the ordinance, the mayor selects someone. We now have the confirmatory authority of yes or no that this should be the broker of record package, and this should be the brokers of record for the city of Holyoke. It basically turn this from just the mayor picking and choosing people. These are very lucrative contracts, extremely, like to the point of $250,000 in commission. Okay, so now the city council will vote yes or no to accept or reject this. So I would recommend that we could send this probably to the finance committee. I think would be a good recommendation, and then we have them come in, have them explain what their proposal is, what they plan on providing for us for services, what they plan on charging the city of Holyoke, all of that type of thing. And the intent of all of this is to have transparency, so that it's not, just who kicks in the most campaign donations gets to be the new broker of record for Holyoke. And I'll just put it right out there. That's what we've seen in the past, in my opinion. And so I want to make sure that we have an open and transparent process, and that this is in the best interest of the taxpayers. So.
Receive and refer to finance.
Motion has been made and seconded to receive and refer to finance.
Can we receive and refer to finance with a request of all the proposals?
Absolutely, yeah. And I think the committee, right, and we'll send a communication back, Ryan, to say that we need to have all of the people who had applied with their proposals, please, and have that sent to finance committee. And then we'll obviously have the people that were chosen come in, and we can weigh the merits and demerits of it. And presumably they're the best proposal. I'm sure that's why the mayor picked them. Councilor McGivern.
Just respectfully ask the law department to write down our role, seeing this will be the first time we've taken this actual vote.
Sure. Yeah. And it is all spelled out in ordinance, but
I understand, but just
no, that would be helpful. Yeah, sure. The law department, if you give that to the finance committee, please. Councilor Graney.
Just a quick question: is there a legal ramification, or is there a date set for this type of correspondence to be done? It seems like at this point it's very late.
It's extremely late, 6 months late. So what I asked, I said, in the spring, I go, it doesn't even look like you guys have started the process. You do realize you owe us a nominee by, it's supposed to be in the spring so that they would start July 1st.
Is it supposed to be, or is it mandated?
It's mandated. It's mandated, okay? And they didn't do it. And so then they said, we'll have it to you so that we can onboard them for January. Again, it's, I know we got these ordinances, but, we have our own way of doing things. Sometimes that's how I feel, unfortunately. It's really spelled out. We've passed this ordinance a few years ago. They've had plenty of notice that this was coming as to the process. But nevertheless, they said, we'll have this so that we can do it for January. So now I've been waiting, we still don't have it, we still don't have it. This is our last meeting of how would this person possibly be approved for January 1st. So now it's not going to be for January 1st. So I don't know. Right now, as far as I'm concerned, we don't even have a broker of record. I don't know how people are being paid at this point, as far as I'm concerned, because the ordinance spells out how a broker of record is to be selected, beginning with these time periods. But yes, this is the process. So if we turn this person down, then we don't have one. He cannot select somebody under the ordinance without our confirmation. I know. Yeah.
That's mind-boggling. That's incredible.
Any other questions? All in favor of referring to finance?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Late file B. Late file B is introduced by Councilor McGee. Transfer $200,000 from free cash to police overtime.
Finance.
Motion on the floor is to send to finance. Without a rule suspension, there is no discussion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So moved. Order introduced by Councilor McGee. $25,000 transfer from police drug testing to $25,000 police overtime.
Finance.
Motion on the floor is to send to finance. Any discussion? Well, can't have discussion because it's not under rule suspension. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Also moved. Late file D. It's a communication from David Conti. This is regarding a Holyoke Waterworks notice of non-compliance sent to, it looks like we're being CC'd on a copy of a letter that he sent to Deidre Doherty of the Mass DEP. I'll read this letter. I don't believe have we been furnished with a copy of this?
Yeah. It came in the email, Mr. President.
Oh, I must have missed that.
So it's
okay. Can you get me a copy of this, please? All right, I have not read that. All right. So this is the communication. People have had an opportunity to read it. I have not yet. Full candor, but I will read it. Okay. Motion is we want to send this to a committee? To have anybody come in or just receive it?
I don't think it's necessary. Motion received.
Steve.
Motion has been made and seconded to receive. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Item late file E, introduced by Councilor Alexander, that the City Council adopt a rule in accordance with the legal opinion already provided, clarifying the need for and the meaning of for a signature on a committee report, specifically whether it indicates agreement with the report, agreement that the report as presented represents the majority vote of the committee, or simply that the signer was present at the meeting where the item was voted upon. Okay.
Mr. President?
Charter and rules?
Yeah, if I may briefly.
You got to suspend the rules.
I don't want to discuss the order. I just want to make a point of order, I suppose.
Okay. Yep.
So I have a pile of orders there. With apologies, I ask all of your indulgences. I did file them on Friday in what I thought was on time, but there was an email issue and they didn't reach the clerk's office in time, so that's why they're late files.
No problem.
I would welcome co-sponsors since I won't be here to shepherd any of these orders. So
I'm happy to have my name as a co-sponsor to all of this.
Charter and rules.
Charter and rules.
Same here.
And Councilor Lisi as a co-sponsor too. And Councilor McGee.
Just
just put us down. Yep.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, happy to do that.
Oh, wait, man.
Sending that to Charter and rules.
Please.
We'll also see that, just so you know, this is addressed in Robert's Rules of Order also, just so you know.
Yep. Just for clarity, I thought it would be helpful to have a rule.
Sure.
Having discussions with other councilors, it seemed useful.
Yep. Motion on the floor is to send late file E to Charter and Rules. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. From Alexander, Lisi, Jordan, and McGee, that the City Council move to fill the already ordained youth representative seat in the council meetings advertising interview, filling the seat for February of 2016. Receive, refer to Charter and Rules, and I hopefully
copy to personnel for the advertisement.
I'm saying
we have a process. It's through the
guidance counselors, and I am trying to work to have this done for this next term. I'm with you on this, and just so briefly,
I mean, it's kind of embarrassing that it's been on the books for as long as it has, and we haven't done anything with it. It's a shame.
Yeah.
Mr. President, public service?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
To public service. Okay.
Sure.
Motion on the floor is receive, refer to public service. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So moved. Late file G, introduced by Councilor Alexander, that the council consider legislation prohibiting smoking on all city-owned property and in all city-owned vehicles. Ordinance?
Ordinance, please.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to receive, refer to ordinance. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Late file H, introduced by Councilor Alexander, that the DPW begin a planning process to redesign Northampton Street from Hamden North to Mountain Road, incorporating complete streets guidelines to narrow the pavement, restore the tree belts between the sidewalks and the travel lanes, and generally make the street calmer and more pedestrian and bike friendly.
Public safety?
Motion is to receive, refer to public safety.
Copy to the DPW, city engineer.
Sure. Receive, refer a copy to the public safety with a copy to the engineer and DPW.
Copy to our state legislative delegation too, because it's a state highway, although it's city managed.
Okay. Copy to our state legislators as well.
Maybe state money for that.
Okay.
And what?
Yes, Councilor LeBron.
What is the department that is dealing with the bike? The city that they did like a study in regards to. What is it?
A copy should go to planning too.
Yeah,
actually.
I thought it would be.
Copy to planning.
Please.
Yep, that's a good idea. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Late file I, introduced by Councilor Alexander, that the council consider development of a zoning ordinance to require tree plantings within parking lots over a certain size and incorporate appropriate planning guidelines specifying the number, size, and other relevant factors. Ordinance.
Please.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Late file J, introduced by Councilor Alexander, that the council consider adoption of a stormwater fee consisting of a combination of base fee paid by all city taxpayers and a user fee applicable only to property owners served by the city wastewater treatment system and scaled appropriately for the amount of stormwater provided by each property to the system, taking into account such factors as property size and amount of impervious surface on the property. Ordinance?
Ordinance, thank you.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to receive, refer to ordinance. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. So moved. Late file K, introduced by Councilor Alexander, that the council utilize PEG access funds to acquire a permanently installed AV screen and internet-enabled projector to use during its presentations for examining zoning maps on screen and other similar purposes. Yeah, this is a great order. Maybe we should take this and receive, adopted, send it to the mayor.
Motion to suspend to adopt?
Yep. Motion's been made and seconded to suspend the rules to allow full discussion on this and to take final action. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Under discussion, Councilor Alexander. Councilor Leahy abstaining. Councilor Alexander.
Yeah, I just, I think it would be really, really helpful if we move this room into the 21st century. So let's get an internet-enabled projector. Let's make sure that Kara has access to it. Let's, be able to actually look at our own zoning and data and presentations from the coal tar committee and everybody else in this room.
Great, I agree. And the fund's got $1 million in there.
And PEG money should be a vehicle for this.
That's what it's designed for. Yep, I agree. So motion on the floor is to receive, adopt, refer to the mayor and the community media group. And
is that the PEG committee? Community media.
It's changed.
Whatever it is, but that's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Illegally.
Councilor Tillman.
Could make of the order, could I put my name on that too?
Please, absolutely. Yeah, thank you.
I'll add my name too as a co-sponsor if that's okay.
I thought you added your name to all of them.
Yeah, you did.
Oh, yeah, that's right, I did.
Please don't forget to add them, because otherwise these black holes. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Adding Councilor Tillman's name. All in favor of adopting?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. Late file L, introduced by Councilor Alexander, that the city clerk provide the council with a list of all current home business permits and any associated restrictions and conditions, including the original issuance date and the expiration date on each permit.
Motion to suspend and adopt.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to suspend the rules to take up final action on this. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Very briefly, just
as motion is to receive, adopt, refer to the city clerk.
Please, and the simple reason is that I think it would be really helpful. I've missed it as a ward councilor, knowing who's got a permit to do what within the ward. Okay. So I think that for all councilors, it would be just helpful data.
Okay. Is there a second? Second. Motion's been made and seconded to receive, adopt, refer to the clerk, and ask her to compile a list segregated by ward of who's got special permits for like home occupations and all these things. Obviously, when she gets a minute, and she can, it doesn't have to be done tomorrow with her robust staff that she has that seems to do all. Under discussion, Councilor Alexander, I think you made your point. It was very helpful. It would be interesting to track. I mean, I kind of track them as they're coming through, but it would be nice to have it would be nice to have a list, but I understand it can't be done tomorrow. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Late file M, introduced by Councilor Alexander, that the DPW and police desist from bagging such spaces as no parking and only use such designation when a space is restricted due to public safety, parades, and the like, temporary construction projects, or other reasons of benefit to the public at large.
Mr. President, there's a whereas on the top of that might be relevant. Okay. Kind of missing that piece.
You asked me to cut out the whereases, so
sorry.
I'm just following your standing order. Whereas dozens of downtown meters are presently out of service, and designating these no parking areas unreasonably restricts the ability of residents and business customers to park downtown, and the revenue from such spaces is lost to the city whether a vehicle parks there or not.
So, if I may, very briefly.
No,
we've got
to suspend the rules.
Suspend the rules, please. Thank you.
Okay. Motion to suspend the rules. Motion fails. No, we can. Motion carries.
Smack you. There's
Councilor Alexander.
There's bag meters all over the place. We don't get any revenue from a broken meter. We don't get any revenue from a bag meter. So why not let people park there until we get the meters fixed?
And you want us to receive, adopt, and refer this to the DPW?
Please.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Under discussion, Councilor McGivern.
President, Councilor LeBron Martinez already filed this order. We've adopted it. The DPW is already ordered that the bags are not being enforced. Actually, I think the new meters are, the parts have come in because those bags are slowly being removed. And it looks like there's new meters are being put up. But we've done this thanks to Councilor LeBron Martinez, and the DPW already responded.
Leave to withdraw them. Okay. I saw the bag still and didn't realize anything was being done. Slowly is the operative word.
Okay. Motion is to give leave to withdraw at the filer's request. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Late file N, introduced by Councilor Alexander, that the DPW provide the speed bump list to the City Council, indicating the date requested and the expected install and removal date for each location requested and not yet installed or removed.
Motion to suspend, receive, adopt, refer to DPW.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to suspend the rules for the purposes of having discussion and final action. All in favor of that?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Motion on the floor is to receive, adopt, refer to the DPW to prepare us this list.
Thanks. This is for the temporary speed bumps. The reason I filed this is because I actually asked for the list one time and I got a list of 3 or 4 locations, and I know there have been at least 15 orders. Yep. We have no idea when the speed bumps are ever going to go in. If they're ever going to go in, it would be nice to get that data out.
So do you want me to indicate the temporary speed bump list? You're now looking for a list.
It's in the whereas.
Permanently already installed.
It's up in the whereas.
Okay.
Gonna miss those whereas.
Yeah. What
you should
we
read
do
the last
those?
one just to have read one.
Okay, I will. It's been a while. So just being clear, that we're looking for the temporary speed bump list on this, and I'll just.
I would encourage all councilors to look and see if the orders they've filed are on that list, because I'll bet they're not.
Sure.
Got a long way to go.
Under discussion, Councilor McGivern on temporary speed
whereas
bumps.
this list could be long, I just hope the DPW can copy on both sides of the paper to save a little bit of money.
Yes. Whereas, hopefully, the ones I put in for are getting near the top of the list.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah. All in favor of adopting and referring to the DPW?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, so moved. Late file O, introduced by Councilor Alexander. Whereas property owners have a right to reasonably restrict tenants' business activities on their properties, where ordered that the applicants for a by right home occupation home business permit who do not own the subject property provide written assent of the property owner as part of the permit application.
Good order.
Ordinance?
Please.
All in favor of referring to ordinance?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. That was a good order. Glad I co-filed that with you.
Thank you. I'm very appreciative.
Yes, absolutely. Late file P, introduced by Councilor Alexander. Whereas the city budget should be easily accessible to city businesses and residents, and the 2016 budget is not yet published online at present. Ordered that the web administrator publish the 2016 and future budgets to the city website and put a more prominent link to the budget landing page. At present, users had to click on government, budget and finance, city auditor, then budgets. Shall we?
Motion to suspend and adopt.
Motion to suspend the rules to take a final action on this. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Motion is to adopt, refer to web administrator.
Web administrator, I guess.
Whoever is that person. Eileen Pooler.
Copy to the treasurer's office, probably, just because I think that's where the link is right now.
Oh, okay.
Auditor's office, I'm sorry.
Oh, copy to the auditor with and Eileen Pooler.
Please.
Okay. Any hearing no other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Late file Q.
This is 13. I thought there was only 11 from Councilor Alexander.
16. 16, sir.
16.
And again, I had no intention for them to be late files. I apologize.
Savor the moment, Joe. This is the last meeting of this.
If they weren't late files.
You're witnessing history here. Introduced by Councilor Alexander. Whereas the city website is or should be an essential tool for communication to both current and potential city residents, visitors, and business owners. Ordered, the City Council investigate whether PEG funds can be used to improve the city website, and if so, that such funds be allocated to planning and execution of badly needed site improvements.
Good order.
It is a good order.
To the PEG committee, whatever it's called now?
No, I think you're
sure.
actually looking for us to investigate and have them come in. Perhaps maybe public service would probably be a good committee. Yeah. Motion's been made, second to receive, refer to public service. All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, so moved. Late file R, introduced by Councilor Alexander. Whereas the Congress of the United States routinely does this, ordered that the Law Department provide a legal opinion on whether the record of a public hearing may remain open for a set time after the hearing is closed for the purpose of receiving additional information such as revised plans or revised and extended remarks, and if permissible, that a council rule be created to clarify the conditions for such action. Charter and rules?
Please.
Okay. Motion's been made and seconded to refer this to Charter and Rules. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Late file S. Late file S, introduced by Councilor Alexander. Whereas the general purpose of each development zone in the city is not defined in our ordinances, ordered that the Planning Department develop and the Council adopt as ordinance a general statement of purpose and description for each zone, defining its intended general character and use and distinguishing it from other zones. Ordinance?
Please.
Motion has been made and seconded to receive and refer to ordinance.
Make amendment. Refer to the City of Chicopee for further review.
All in favor of referring to ordinance?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Late file T, introduced by Councilor Alexander. Whereas Wi-Fi services are an essential part of a vibrant downtown in cities throughout the country, ordered that the council work with the gas and electric to provide free Wi-Fi services throughout public spaces in the downtown core, and to provide standardized signage indicating that the service is available for free, courtesy of the city and G&E. Final action, give to the G&E.
Sure.
Okay.
And maybe, well, actually, no, put it to public service so that there's somewhere to have a conversation.
How about this? Okay, motion to send to public service with a copy to the G&E. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Late file U by a non-Councilor Alexander person.
So I'm done.
You are done. Put a fork in you. Councilor Bresnahan has the next one up. Ordered where he uses whereases. Guys, this person.
He stole my whereas.
Whereas the DOR has already recommended twice that the City of Holyoke become compliant with Mass General Law, Chapter 41, Section 24, as well as the City of Holyoke Ordinance 8236, ordered that the City Council interview the only applicant that has applied for the position of the third assessor. That was advertised from September 21st to October 23rd, in order to be in compliance with the above-mentioned laws. Receive, refer to ordinance.
No,
excuse me,
I
public service?
I was going to say, I spoke to him earlier, and he wants it to go to public safety.
Safety?
Yep.
On assessors? No, it's an appointment. It has to go to public service.
Service.
All right.
Service,
I'm just saying what he said.
I think that's what he meant.
Must have.
Service.
Yeah.
Can you have my name to that one?
What's that?
Yeah. Adding Councilor Alexander. Okay. So, Councilor Graney?
Oh, no. Go ahead. Take
Okay.
the vote.
Motion to send it to public service. And we do have one applicant, so we'll hopefully interview that applicant, and then we can have that for a vote, certainly at our next meeting, when we do all of our other city appointments. So all in favor of sending to public service?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. We now have no further agenda items, but I do see Councilor Graney's hand up. Yes.
Just late file W, please. It's an
file.
open-ended late file, whereas, so that Gordon can fill it in whatever he wants to.
Very good, very good.
Gordon?